Fingers and toes, making sure the beaming process is complete. Welcome to episode 5 of Men on Trek. We are back once again with Captain James T. Palpatine, Captain Mark Dystrom, myself, Admiral Looks Good in Red Keith, Lieutenant Audio Arthur, and we have a special guest today, live from Starfleet Command. We have Commodore Khan. And if you recognize that name, you might be a little unclear on his motives, but we'll find out before the episode's over. So
that's what Jeffrey tubes are for, and an ejection button.
So welcome, Commodore Khan. Thank you for being with us today. And today we're going to talk about Court Martial, Star Trek Season 1, Episode 21, originally aired on February 2nd, 1967. Maybe not an episode on top of everybody's list, but we found it very relevant to what we've been discussing lately. So let's get into it.
Does the Commodore have any opening remarks?
Yeah.
I do. One is kind of a broad, sweeping statement, and that this is the first time I've watched Trek literally in years. I forgot how good it was and how relevant the stories still are.
That's the beautiful thing why this group has started to do this. When you rewatch it, you find out how good the writing is and how good the episodes are. But go ahead.
And definitely how different the society was then as opposed to now, because all entertainment and everything else is downstream from society, and man, we've fallen off a bit.
Yeah, we're definitely not living Roddenberry's dream of a better human life.
Yeah.
Well, the technology's sort of headed in the right direction, but what we're doing with it?
Well, that's the beautiful thing of Star Trek. Cell phones, Star Trek. Computer, little computer chip cards, Star Trek.
Tablets? You mean floppy disk, Mark?
Yeah. All this stuff is derived from Star Trek.
A lot of it is. Yes, it inspired quite a bit. Still haven't got that phaser thing worked out yet, though.
Bullets are always better.
More economical.
Yeah.
True.
All I got to do is put a hole in you till you can't breathe. But to more positive things.
Well, no, I'm positive you're right about that.
Did you have anything else, Commodore?
Let's go ahead and get into the episode.
All right. So, standard four act routine. Although the length of the acts are a little different in this one. We find the Enterprise has journeyed to a star base after going through a ion storm, and unfortunately, a crew member has been lost due to the ion storm because they were in a thing called the ion pod, monitoring the storm levels, and due to the unexpected severity of the ion storm, or what you could almost seem to refer to as space turbulence, that pod had to be ejected. They reported to the starbase for repairs, and we find our heroes beaming down to the starbase to report the incident, along with the loss of the crew member.
I have a question. If the Enterprise wasn't damaged, would they have had to come back to a starbase because they lost one crew member?
I don't think so. You just sent in a report.
Yeah.
Probably not even a special report. You probably put in the general log. And because,
you think about it. Every time somebody dies, you have to come back.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's just because of the damage.
Yeah. It seemed like they should have given them accommodation, seeing how he only lost one guy this time compared to other episodes.
Yeah. When they beamed down to Cestus 3, that was,
I know
that's 3 men down right there.
Yeah, and then we sort of get introduced right away to Commodore. What's his name?
Stone.
Commodore Stone.
The coolest Commodore in Starfleet.
Coolest one so far, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No offense, Commodore Khan. We know you're cool, but you weren't in the episode.
But what's interesting in this app, you have other ships that are at the starbase
The Intrepid was there.
getting
Oh, was
repairs.
it? That was the Intrepid.
Getting repairs. It's moved back on its repair schedule to bump Enterprise up.
Who's the captain of the Intrepid?
They never say, but you find out in another episode that it's a Vulcan ship. It's an all Vulcan crew.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Because they got destroyed by something.
Yes, the space amoeba. We have
The immunity factor.
Yeah, that's
immunity
the
factor.
immunity factor.
That is a top 10 episode for me.
Is it?
That's
Yeah.
a good episode.
Yeah.
But they're at spaceport and for repairs, and Kirk is giving his
Deposition.
he's going over his deposition, and the Commodore asked him, "Is there anything wrong?" Because he's going over it, trying to be thorough. And Kirk goes, "No, I've just lost a crewman.
Right.
It's important." And then the question becomes, well, where's the report from the computer? And Kirk calls to the Enterprise, and Uhura says Spock's left already. He should have been there.
10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then Spock beams in. I guess the Admiral has his own little transport
Yeah, that's
pad.
nice. That was pretty cool. The Commodore had his own little private transport pad.
The rank, the privilege of rank.
That's right.
It's good to be
I don't have to
Commodore.
walk down to the common,
That's right.
the common transporter where all you plebes
And it wasn't.
transported
It
from.
wasn't. It's like having a bowling alley in your basement. It's not that he had a single. He had a double. He had a 2-pad transporter in his office.
Him and the nice young lady who he frequents
Oh my goodness.
transports in. The,
Are you insinuating that the Commodore is behaving inappropriately?
no, I'm insinuating that it's probably his wife.
Oh, see, it's us. It's us, Keith.
Yeah. I can't help it. You got a dirty mind.
That's right.
I'm an admiral.
Admiral red shirt.
I'm an admiral. I've seen some things. But
So Spock comes off the pad. He doesn't look. He looks
Concerned.
He looked concerned. He did.
the remaster,
Yeah.
the remaster was doing a great job of showing the green in his face that they tried to
Yep.
do with the makeup.
Right.
But
Oh, one of the things I just wanted to comment on is in the very beginning when they showed the remastered Enterprise coming into the starbase.
Oh, it
you
looked
could
good.
you could see the damage on the ship. Yeah. And the ion pod where it was, there's a hole inside the ship.
even just showing it could pull into orbit with the Intrepid already in orbit was a cool shot.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
They did a great job with the remastering. I mean, the way the Enterprise looked as it goes across, you're looking at it, and it's like, wow, and the little people in the window. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like,
And they
man.
didn't the update of the effects doesn't change the mood.
No, it doesn't.
No.
No, it doesn't.
That's a really
fit.
good observation though, because it could overpower. They could have done it in a way that it didn't fit. They could have went.
Exactly.
There are some filmmakers who go back and change their work, and it changes, like who shot first.
I knew you were going to go there. You couldn't help it. You couldn't help it. That's what a Palpatine does.
Don't invoke that name.
That's what a Palpatine
I didn't
does.
say. I
Do not invoke that
didn't say
name.
anything. I'm still a huge
Evil.
fan, but.
Evil.
But the Commodore is right. They did the effects in a way, and they added. They did make. I mean, you didn't see the Intrepid. I don't believe the Intrepid was in the original.
No, it was not.
They
I don't know.
said it was there, but I don't believe you see it.
You didn't get the visual of it.
Yeah, I don't believe
Yeah.
you see it.
So, but they added it in a way that it was really nice to see, but it didn't change the pacing of the story at all.
It is funny. I mean, it's a good point. I was thinking when we were rewatching it, ship effects in this episode are fantastic. They do a lot of really nice little things, and it's not a ship episode. It's a background piece. It's not really what the episode's about at all, but it looks really great. It looks fantastic, and it enhances the story.
It makes sense that this is a first season episode because you get a lot of background on who the captain is and his first officer, and who the doctor is. We'll probably hit it as we get through the episode, but
you're looking way down the road.
It's a really good episode. And I think it's the captain's episode.
Absolutely.
This is Men on Trek Season 1, Episode 5. And Episode 4, we did the arena. And this is almost a photo negative of that episode as far as like action. And this is a very cerebral episode. And it's about what it takes to be a captain. And there are multiple, and we'll get to it, but there are multiple declarations throughout this of what it takes and what you can't do and continue to be a captain.
Yes. So we've got Spock beaming down, and Spock looks a little troubled. And Kirk's kind of like, "Where you been, Spock?" It's weird when I was watching the episode. Just the fact that Spock of all people is late was just like more weird than anything. It's like, what do you mean Spock's late? Spock's not late. You know, if Spock's late, that means like he's fighting 6 Klingons in the hallway. It's not, Spock's just not late.
Why did you think he was late?
He was going over that. He was going over that evidence, trying to figure out how that happened, because it defied everything that he knew about the captain, and 2, even though he didn't see everything personally, he knew that there was a problem.
I think so as
he
well.
Knew that what was on that tape was not right,
and
couldn't have been.
And what was really cool about that is as Kirk is rushing him to hand it over to Commodore Stone, Spock's kind of like, "I was kind of hoping we could talk about it first, Captain, because wink, wink."
And Commodore was like, "Give it here, boy."
Yeah, I think what
hand it over.
I think what Uhura saw was he did the tape on the bridge and then headed towards the transporter, and I think Spock stopped someplace and put it in another computer terminal and reviewed it again. That's why I think he was late.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's just interesting to see. Spock's usually very logical by the book, so on and so forth, and clearly we have a moment where Spock's trying to figure out a way to take a beat and cover for and kind of let Kirk know there's an issue.
But as per Trek, the audience knows nothing because the actors or the incident, the captain knows nothing. So once again, as the story progresses, we are learning as they are learning.
Yes.
What's happening. And when Commodore Stone takes it somewhat abruptly from Commander Spock, he puts it in the computer and starts to run it, and then he immediately attacks Captain Kirk.
Well, and it's the strength of how they filmed it and the writing. You don't know what's going on, but Spock has already, through his performance, delivered something's off. Why is Spock so hesitant? And you've ratcheted up that tension so that when that data card hits Commodore Stone's hand, you're like, what's happening? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Stone just, as Mark says, Stone just outright.
He lights into
He says, "Kirk, you committing perjury?" And Kirk's looking at him like, "What?" You know.
Called him a perjurer and a liar.
Yeah, just off the top.
Yeah. No politically correct here. He went for the jugular.
Yeah.
He went straight in. Like, well, let's talk about this. No. You lying piece of such and such. He
says, Kirk, didn't you just tell me in the statement you signed that it would happen this way? And Kirk said, yes. And Stone's like, that's not what this tape says. You got a problem.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So as they are going through, this is just the preliminary before we get into the credits, and the run goes. So this is the startup of the episode.
Right.
And Kirk is faced with being called a liar, a perjurer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Was it? It wasn't right then, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, right after Stone looked at it, he wasn't trying to be soft about it. He went all in.
Yeah, he did.
He went all in.
I thought I would have punched him. I would have hit him. He called
But,
Kirk. The only thing he didn't call him was a coward. Did he? But
he did call him cowardly.
He did call him a coward.
He called him cowardly. And then he said probably something else. Yeah, it was pretty tough.
What were you saying, Khan?
That speaks to the standards that all those guys were held to. You guys mentioned in I forget which episode what it takes to be on one of those ships, and especially what it takes to be on the bridge crew.
Yeah, we mentioned it in episodes 1 through 4.
pretty much that's the arc we're on.
Right, it's been a continuing run, and we've gotten that thought because of what they've done in the episodes. We didn't just pull that out of whole cloth and come up with it ourselves. These episodes, as you go through, they prove to you what's necessary to be a Starfleet captain. And if we look at ourselves, most of us are not at that level.
No way.
Would never be a Starfleet officer. You get on your video game and you become your role playing game, whatever it is, and I'm a captain of a ship. Man, you never make the grade. Because making the grade is difficult. One little mistake.
One mistake. Unbelievable.
And in every episode, it's generally one mistake that gets an entire crew killed.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes, and so immediately we're in a situation where Kirk is looking at some charges here, and it's almost unthinkable. And things progress pretty quickly, and we run the great credits, and it comes back, and
so before we move on, let's look at what Stone says. Go back just a second. So before he gets into it, Finney's daughter comes in.
Oh, Jamie,
and she lets into Captain Kirk something fierce, which sets the mood for.
She's like, you have always hated him. No wonder you finally killed him.
It sets the mood, and Stone's sitting there watching, and she's just lighting into him. And I'm thinking, in his mind, he's thinking, well, yeah, this guy must have done it. If he had this much animosity towards Finney as the daughter who's named after him seems to think.
I don't get that from Stone. I don't think Stone is swayed by Jamie. I think he finds it more. I think he finds Jamie's outburst more of an annoyance than anything else.
He does signal to Spock to get her out of here.
Yeah, he's like, take her
but that's information once it's put in your head, it's hard to get rid of.
But you know what I think, Stone? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Khan.
If you consider that the viewers are kind of like part of the jury, entertain that thought, it does put the thought into your head that, whoa, wait a sec. Did he have a reason to kill this guy?
Right, that's the setup to the audience.
Well, you know where I think it is? This is where I'm going with it. So when we talk about it's Scotty's ship, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Commodore's Starfleet. And he's got a captain that's going to bring shame to it. I don't think he really personally feels as though Kirk has done it one way or the other. He's upset that one of the captains is going to go down in disgrace.
What it would do for the Starfleet.
Absolutely. It would devalue him, and it would devalue all the other captains and Commodores. So it's like the old boys network, and here's a guy who shows up and does this ensign type move, and he's got to be the one that's got to bring him forward. I think he's thinking, why does he show up at my star base? I'm the one that's got to bring. I'm going to be, because at the end of the day, I think that Commodore Stone from the way that Starfleet looks at this, he's not going to be. People aren't going to be sitting down having a drink with him when all this is over with either.
Yeah, one of your boys went half
Well,
shot.
That's right.
You jumped a little bit ahead, but yeah,
Oh, sorry.
definitely. So the initial conversation happens, and Stone tells Kirk he's looking at a hearing and possibly a court martial, and then they roll credits and they cut back, and Kirk and McCoy are in the officers club on the starbase. And Kirk's saying his graduating class is well represented. There's other captains there, and he goes over. He says hi to a couple guys, and they're very hostile.
Oh yeah,
Very hostile.
Yes.
one of the guys says, "Your ship pretty badly damaged. You gonna be sticking around for a long? When you planning on leaving?"
Yeah.
And then Kirk's like, "Well, I'm interested to know why you want it. Well, just probably you're gonna be hanging around long enough to get a new records officer."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
I half expected a fight to break out.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I half expected somebody to get decked.
But I think Kirk had rank on that guy,
Yeah.
so he wouldn't have hit him. Now the guy behind him, I think, was probably I'm thinking captain and first officer were the two that were sitting across from him at the bar.
Possibly.
But
They acted that way,
They were part of his graduating class. So
right?
just because you're in the same class doesn't mean you move up the food chain at the same
The same
pace.
speed.
Yeah. Well, we know Kirk is the youngest guy to ever get a ship, so he probably is out in front of his class in general.
He probably leapfrogged a couple of people after he deep six Finney. Tattlers Field, man.
Oh.
Alternate reality Kirk.
That's
Kirk-
gonna be a great episode.
This Kirk.
That's gonna be 3 hours. That's gonna be 3 hours easy. That podcast is gonna
This
be 3
Kirk doesn't
hours.
have a Tattlers Field, so he's got a tattletale feel.
You got a tattletale?
Catch you doing something wrong, man.
I'm telling-
we make this joke on my job. It says, look, I turn you in and I get to move up the food chain. So Kirk's off Finney. Okay. Boo.
So,
I said this in the beginning when we were sitting down to watch it. I was like, "So you're a starship captain? You can't kill a guy every once in a while? You get in trouble for that? It's your crew. I understand a mistake, but it's like
under red alert, you can get rid of a lot of bad apples.
All right.
You got an instant causing you problems. Wait for a red alert.
Jim, and as I told you,
Go to that Jeffrey's tube, boy.
Jim.
No, Jeffrey's tube.
Captain James T. Palpatine, Captain's log. We continue to orbit the ion storm for the 5th day. I'm having the 19th person put into the ion pod.
No, Jim, but as I told you, Jim, it's not that you kill somebody. Starfleet has rules.
Yes.
And if you're going to kill somebody, you have to do it according to procedure.
Right.
The right color light has to be flashing before you blast them into space.
I was expecting Commodore Stone to go, this was just Ben Finney, so we're not really gonna make any big deal out of this because we know Ben's not going anywhere.
Ben's a non-starter.
You just shouldn't have come in with the messed up ship.
What's problematic is that we get the background of Finney, and Finney was a instructor at the academy, and he instructed Kirk and a whole bunch of other people, and he spent too much time at the academy. And first thing came to my mind, and I know we don't like to deviate from Trek, but Next Generation, where Riker wouldn't take the promotion up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's people that are gonna go by you. They're gonna fast track by you.
Yeah.
Finney stayed at the academy teaching because it was probably easy. He probably liked it. Probably liked interacting, but he didn't get in a position to be promoted.
Well, Kirk even says he was he was at the academy and an instructor for too long.
Yes, he stayed there too long.
He stayed there too long.
And
as far as the Riker comment, I always thought that Riker, I understood it very easy. His was, I want to be captain of the Enterprise.
Right.
Yes.
But But that's not the way the real world works.
Right. I think if in the real world, if you had passed up a captain of another ship, I don't think you get this. I don't think you get. Maybe he wanted to be the first guy who was a first officer who got the Starfleet flagship captain handed to him, because that was my understanding. Was it Picard's Enterprise the flagship?
Yeah, it was a flagship.
Yeah. And it does not work that way.
That is not a realistic expectation.
Yeah, right. You could hope for it, but that's like hoping for a cow to jump over the moon.
Right. Well, let's
and the more likely alternative is that you stagnate your own career.
Right.
They're only going to offer you a captainship so many times.
Absolutely.
You keep turning it down.
Well, in Finney's case, never.
Well,
Finney didn't have that problem.
Well, let's. Finney wasn't sitting by the phone. That's for sure.
No, he wasn't.
So where are we in the process here, Admiral Redshirt?
Yeah. So they're in the officers' club. Kirk gets the cold shoulder, and his former classmates basically accuse him of taking Finney out and remind him that they were friends of Finney.
We're friends of Ben,
and it's
Finney.
Not going to go well for him.
How long is it going to take you to get another record?
Does that mean are you part of the low performing group within Starfleet if you're Ben Finney's friend?
Probably.
Maybe you're at least average. You're not James T. Kirk, that's for sure.
I think they had an affection for him from the academy, though. I think that's what I'm thinking. Like, he was my instructor, and
it's I mean, back into it. Kirk and Finney were best buds until the one incident happens.
Do you think that they were best buds, though?
When you name your daughter after somebody.
Oh yeah.
So let's cover it. So Kirk leaves the officers' club.
Seems like, but wait a second, that's a good point. Maybe I think Finney was way into it more than Kirk was.
I don't think so. I think they had a real friendship.
Really?
And but it came down to one of those moral things. And just to cover off the officers' club, Kirk leaves, and good old McCoy
pushes up on the first available woman.
Good old McCoy sees the beautiful woman walk in the room and
pushes up on the first available woman.
In spite of, but wait, no, this is great.
Pushes up on the first available woman.
But this is great. This is great because McCoy, knowing that his buddy Kirk is in dire straits, isn't having a rough time, says, and seeing the woman react to Kirk, goes, well, this is a perfect time to use my buddy to pick up some points here.
McCoy's the ultimate wingman.
Yeah, he comes in.
He's right there.
He comes in. He says, yes, indeed, that was James T. Kirk. And he's gone, but I'm available.
That's right.
I'm available. He's like, do you know Jim? And she's like, yes, I do. And he's like, all Jim's friends look like you. And then he's like, but have a drink with me. You know, it's beautiful. McCoy is making the most of his opportunities.
He did well.
He's keeping it positive.
Yeah,
he's doing well. But so then they get back to after the meet and greet, which turns out to be Ariel Shaw. Then you get back into the conversation where they begin to run down how Lieutenant Commander Finney got his career sidelined. Well, and they tell Kirk what kind of charges he's looking at.
It's the inquiry.
Yeah, it's the initial inquiry.
So he goes back to the Commodore's office, Commodore Stone, and they're having the inquiry into the charges against the captain and the perjury and willful negligence. They didn't count murder.
I still think you can't kill your own crew member.
No, murder doesn't actually come up. It's just, I'm telling you, Jim, he just didn't follow the rules. It's okay somebody died.
Okay, good.
Perjury and willful negligence.
Yeah, culpable negligence, yes.
So the inquiry starts, and the Admiral starts to go through and deal with the various statements that Kirk made on his report, and then what the computer log.
So right now it's just Kirk and Commodore.
Commodore.
Yeah. This is where it gets ugly.
Yes.
It's
this is what you already alluded to, Joe.
It's this scene.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're in there and they're running down the details, and it gets pretty heated.
Well, the Commodore shuts off the computer, and then he comes around, sits in front of the desk, and he's like to Kirk, he's like, you know, you're tired, you're exhausted. That's how I'm gonna put this in the record.
Yeah.
You accept a permanent ground assignment, and and you
because
get
he's trying to save face for the fleet, for his fleet.
Right. It's not necessarily trying to save Kirk.
no.
Although it works out as saving Kirk. I'm trying to keep the fleet out of scandal.
Right.
Yeah, it's absolutely not saving Kirk. His career is going to end as far as running a ship.
But that's good. That's the first time that this is probably one of my favorite Commodores, because he's really about Starfleet.
Yes.
A lot of the other Commodores that we've run into, they seem like they've got other things going on, but he's a gatekeeper,
Yes. Yes.
and he's going to maintain that level. And if you don't, now he's not going to bring it down by bringing you down. He's going to make you take a plea, and you're going to go sit behind a desk, and people will forget about this, and the new captain of the Enterprise will do a better job, and long live Starfleet.
His name is very well placed, Commodore Stone.
Mm-hmm.
He's the wall.
Yes.
He's the guy that keeps people from making that level.
Yeah.
So you got to get paid, because in the episode he comes off as a very stern, very straightforward guy, and if you don't make the grade, you're not getting a ship. And if you mess up on a ship, we're yanking you down. We'll set you somewhere that you can't cause problems, but you're not getting anything else.
Well, also, what I like about the Stone character throughout the episode is his demeanor, the way he handles things. You can picture him running a ship. He is a Starfleet captain.
Like Jericho?
Huh? You mean like Jellicoe?
Jellicoe.
Kind of. Stone comes off.
The next generation.
Yeah. Why do you keep doing that? That's stop that. But no.
Have to have a place of correlation.
But go someplace
When
good.
we talk about writing, do you think in a newer sense that Stone at the end of the episode went up to Kirk and apologized? Said I was too hard on you.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. With today's writing, probably.
No, not.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Today, yes.
That's what I'm saying. And with today's writing, because Stone, there is not what Stone says to Kirk in this basically calls him a coward, puts him on trial, and then they walk away from each other.
Well,
and there's no reconciliation. There's no I'm sorry. There's no apology accepted. There's no handshaking.
He starts into Kirk, and Kirk stops him. Kirk stops and goes, "You've gone too far."
Well, he went too far.
And Kirk stood up to him, but Stone is the gatekeeper.
Yeah, but there's also something else important here. This is where you get the full story of what happened between Kirk and Finney.
Right.
And you get a little bit more Kirk's backstory. In other episodes they say Kirk served on the Farragut, but as a young ensign he's on the Republic.
Right.
And
he wasn't even an ensign. He was a midshipman.
No, he was an ensign.
He was an ensign.
On the Republic, he was an ensign.
Yeah, he was a midshipman at the academy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, young Ensign Kirk now dealing with Lieutenant Finney.
Oh yeah.
Taking over for him on watch, finds an open circuit that could have resulted in the destruction of the ship. So we've kind of talked facetiously about one error.
That's it.
And as Khan already brought it up, this was one of those errors that could have destroyed the ship. So,
and what
is that? Is that a jerk move by Ensign Kirk?
No,
absolutely not.
Would you call your buddy back? Would you call him up and say, "Hey, get back down here and close this switch so I don't have to put you on report"?
No, you leave something open that's minor, and maybe you do that, but you come on duty and the circuit and the bomb circuit is open. That's going to blow up the ship in about 5 minutes, and you have to correct that. That goes down in the book,
and you
don't worry about what happens.
You got to put it in the book because this could happen again, and the ship blow up. You can't there's certain things that you can let slide, but in this case, at the gravity of the atomic circuit, you have to do something about it. So he wrote it up that when he got there, the switch was left open, and he closed it. He probably said nothing about Finney. And they looked it up, who was there before Kirk was there, and why was that circuit open. And they probably did an investigation and found out it was Finney. Now, why that happened? Maybe they were doing some, we can speculate. They were doing some test, and Finney had to open the circuit for somewhere else in the ship.
That actually doesn't matter. The circuit
I
shouldn't have been open.
I know. The point is, Kirk didn't necessarily have to write down Finney's name at all. Just that when he got there on his duty, the circuit was open and he closed it.
Yeah.
He did his job and he walked away.
Yes.
And then when whoever goes through the books and start looking at it, goes, "Whoa, what happened here?"
But
Kirk didn't put him on report.
That's my point. I don't think it was just closing a circuit. Okay, they make it sound that way. There must have been damage or something that when you took this action at that point, it wasn't that everything just went back to normal. I have the sense that, yes, he closed the switch, but there may have been damage to the ship at that point, and it had to be repaired and fixed, and there were other things that went, because if it was just like you left the switch open and then you close the switch, who cares? I'm not gonna bust anybody, but I think Kirk comes in and sees a panel decaying internally, and he's got to stop this reaction. 5 more minutes, it would have destroyed the ship, but I think it did damage, and then he had to get a damage party, and it was much bigger than that. I think if it was just he flipped the switch, I don't think he would have said anything.
Well, going on what you said, is very possible that there was damage done somewhere else or there. Kirk could have gotten a repair crew or not. But if damage was done, when the people started researching what caused the damage, could lead them back to the switch, Kirk's report, and the like. Because as you said, something generally happens to call people to look into what went on.
And Kirk wouldn't be the type of person that would say, yeah, I came on duty and I didn't notice this until, then he would have been neglectful.
Right.
So when he first came on and did his checks and he found that, and there was probably damage that was happening, he put into a process of closing it down and getting people to do the inspection and whatever, and then he just walks away at the end of his shift and somebody says, well, Kirk closed it when he first came on, must have been open. Who was the last duty officer? Finney. Get Finney up here right now.
Right, and it didn't necessarily mean that Finney opened it. It could have been opened by somebody else.
Right.
And Finney didn't do his checks.
That's it.
That were necessary to make sure the switch is closed.
Yep.
We're talking about a starship. You can have a problem that won't be necessarily the whole ship blows up, but if you lose a section of the ship where space enters in, you're looking at major loss of life.
Right.
Yeah.
You just can't. This is submarine thought. If you leave a valve open that's pumping seawater into the ship,
Well, yeah.
it doesn't matter if everybody's going to drown. I mean, you know what I mean? This is critical stuff.
And then
It's not like you left the window open in your house and I'm going to...
But
it's a critical component.
When they say leaving a switch open, and he talks about the atomic piles or whatever it was, but when you think about it a little bit for what happened, Finney doesn't get to be a captain because of that.
Yes.
I don't think it required heroism. It required him to just do his normal duty, and he neglected to do that.
Do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You're supposed to come in and check.
Right.
If we can't trust you to check the atomic piles,
Right.
which is a little portion on the ship, no way I can trust you with a whole ship.
This component was major because it was going to destroy the Republic. But
Well, that's the second strike. That's the second strike for Finney. The first strike is when Kirk basically says he was at the academy too long as an instructor. And so what he's implying is that here's a guy that is close, but once again, bred in circuses, right?
He doesn't have the drive.
Right.
If he had the drive, he would have done his academy time teaching and would have been out there in the field getting his experience.
Right.
Finney was well liked by the rest of Kirk's class. So Finney's hanging back. He's a party boy. He's hanging back.
He's a party boy.
He's hanging back enjoying himself.
He's got a 30-year-old daughter. Yeah, he's been partying.
She's not 30.
Why don't you name your daughter after me?
She's not 30.
You name your daughter after me.
Yeah, I sure did. I'm sorry.
I didn't. I guess I didn't name mine after you either.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. So
turnabout's fair play.
that's right.
Yeah, why? Yeah, Arthur, why is your name Mark?
It should have been. Arthur, let's go and have it changed.
That's good.
Mark Palpatine.
So,
I could pull it off.
so that brings us to the end of Act One.
I just took your son from you.
And that brings us to the end of Act One. Jim and Mark have exchanged children or something. Heading into Act Two, having had this major blow up with a superior officer and facing a full court martial.
Well, he says you're facing a full court martial. He goes, facing. I
demand
demand
it.
it.
Yeah. So Kirk is thrown down the gauntlet with the Commodore Stone.
Does he end up in the bar? Right.
Yeah,
after
well,
that?
that's it.
I love that.
Act Two.
That's James T.
Act Two.
Right. Somebody he just his superior officer has just told him, "I'm going to ruin your career. You're a coward. This is the end for you." And where does Kirk go? Goes down to the bar,
club.
and he sees a lady.
Yeah.
And away he goes. He doesn't miss a beat. He's smiling. He orders a drink.
He heads in.
Hold on. We missed the part.
Did we?
We missed the part where he starts to talk about who could be a captain.
Yeah.
And that's very
important. Where Stone breaks down how special Kirk is and why it's important
how special
that
captains are.
That the institution be protected.
Yeah.
That only one man in a million can become a starship captain.
I think that's off.
I think that's very low.
Yeah.
It would
if you take the whole Federation and don't include just men, it's probably 1 in a trillion can be a starship captain.
Yeah,
but we're dealing with 1967, 68.
Well, he doesn't make it gender specific. He just says how special and rare a captain is.
Did you ever go through that? Did you ever go through that question? Which would you prefer to be a Master Jedi or a Starship Captain?
No.
Which would you pick?
No.
I've never seen that.
Which would you pick?
Wow.
What Facebook magic is that? Haven't seen.
Master Jedi.
You would take Jedi, Master
Absolutely,
Jedi.
yeah.
Yeah, I probably would too, because I don't have to worry about a bunch of men.
What about you, Keith?
Starship Captain.
Khan?
I gotta say, Master Jedi would probably be easier.
I don't think it would be easier. I think it'd be you would have less individuals to worry about.
That's the difference.
And that's the difference. That's why I say it would be easier. You have the stringency of the qualifications are similar, but the execution of duty and the responsibility, man, Starship Captain is way above.
That's what I'm saying. See, Master Jedi, I can go do
what about
go hack somebody and walk away.
What about you, Jim? Which way you going?
Starship Captain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Jedi. It's all fun and games till the clones show up.
I'm not dealing with all these moments.
But you know why? I think I could. I think if I was there, I could be a Starship Captain. If I was a Master Jedi, it would only be a matter of time before I went Sith.
Well, see, that's
heavy stuff.
That comes down to the core personality. I could do the Jedi.
Yes,
it's dealing.
You think so?
It's dealing with all the little man.
I think you're all. I think, with the possible exception of Arthur, you're all kidding yourselves, and you'd be on your way to a red saber so fast.
Not me.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. Dystrom is pure.
I think a Master Jedi could board a starship and become
kill everybody.
A starship captain.
kill everybody
So
and run the starship by himself.
Yeah,
but we're not talking about that other franchise. We're not talking about that other franchise. Let's put that franchise to bed.
We spelled Jedi with a G.
This is Men on Track.
Men on Track.
This is Men Off Track. But
he basically tells him, he goes, you and I have done something that no one else can do.
One in a million.
And I'm going to flush you before I let you bring all the rest of us down.
Shame to the service.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, that's what's most significant about this episode. In a way, the actual storyline is almost less important than some of the things that are put forth in the episode.
Right.
And yeah, Stone just makes this really powerful statement about what it means to be a starship captain and how important it is. And it fits into everything we've been talking about across the other episodes. What we're discovering as we revisit these episodes is that's a recurrent theme. That the leadership and the rarity of an individual that can do this.
Well, it's interesting to me that there's this personality disorder that you see when you've got a Commodore Stone who has been perfect his whole time, and now he's a Commodore. Okay, and now he's responsible for all these captains.
Well,
and as soon as one of his captains becomes less than a captain, that personality disorder comes out, and basically he just treats him that he's not worthy to be a captain anymore. There's no like emotional training or anything that they get where it's like, Jim, let me take you by the hand and we'll get through this together. He's just like, now you're not a starship captain in my eyes. Now you're just a liability. You're going to bring us down, and it's not whether I believe you or not. It's just that's the way that it is.
Right. Kirk makes a statement that so if what you're saying is true, if you believe that, then I should be court-martialed.
Right.
But you're just going to sweep this under the rug and my career with it.
Well,
and I'm not going out like that.
Well,
People left you, so bring it.
Yeah. So there is I think there is one hint of emotion or mercy in Stone, in that he's saying, Kirk, for the good of the service, I got to take you out, but I'm not going to wholesale destroy you. You'll still be in Starfleet. You'll still be a captain. You'll just never be on a ship
I don't
again.
think he's doing it for Kirk.
No,
that's just his way of spinning it and saying, hey, if you want to see some humanity in what I'm doing, then go ahead. But I'm doing this for the service. I could care less about you.
No, I think it is. I think it's as far as Stone is going in terms of mercy, because Stone is saying, look, Kirk, based on what I'm looking at here, you're going down, but I'm going to allow you to still be in uniform.
That's
the most you're getting.
That's why Stone turned off the recorder.
Right.
So let me have a private conversation with you,
right.
Captain.
Right.
This doesn't look good, and instead of us burning everybody, making a show of this, I'm going to set you down.
So that's what mercy looks like at that level.
And that's why Kirk retorts that if you think that I actually did this, there should be a court martial. See, Kirk is a by the book guy. He's not this new generation Kirk. He's by the book. If you watch the episodes,
yes, he is.
Because in the various episodes we see, Kirk is a very studious officer.
Yeah,
he's very straightforward, and if the book says X, that's what it is. So he's not willing to have his career shuttered on it looks bad. If it's bad, then prove it's bad.
I always thought that Kirk was written, and maybe it was under Roddenberry's direction. Kirk seemed like the guy who always tried harder.
Yeah.
Like, Captain Tracy in Omega Glory. Like, he doesn't have the physicality that Tracy does. But he'll use his brains if he can't use his brawn. He always seems like he's the guy that you would walk into the chemistry lab and he's staying over and running the experiment again.
The Kobayashi Maru.
They say they say that about him.
The Kobayashi Maru. Kirk doesn't quit.
Right.
You can force him. You can force him to stop, but he's not going to quit. And if he's got any chance of fighting his way through, he's going to fight. And we see this when we get to the court martial. The actual court martial in the courts when they're doing through, and you go through all the accommodations people got. You see the type of person Kirk is.
And jumping ahead.
I know. So go ahead.
I'm holding up my stop sign.
Go ahead, Admiral.
Red shirt. It's red like my shirt.
Go ahead, Admiral. Looks good in red.
I do. I might not last long, but I look good in the box. So as we said, we're in Act 2, and our hero, having really just put his whole career on the line and stood toe-to-toe with his superior officer, is going to get a drink. and runs into Ariel and
Mrs. look good in green.
yes, with her lavender eyes, as it was pointed out.
Somebody was looking hard at the big screen.
Mhm.
It's the it was the remaster. You couldn't help it. She was a foot and a half tall, and
It was so clear.
yeah, high def, yeah. And I'm not covering for myself.
But I do think she looked better in the Starfleet uniform than that little thing she had on at the bar.
I agree.
Agreed.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Agreed.
Starfleet uniforms are designed
But she
so
had
that women pop.
she had that adjutant general uniform.
The JAG uniform.
It was like a little shinier than what you would normally see.
Well, she's a lawyer. She gets a nicer uniform.
Yeah.
She's not out in space waiting to get phaser.
I liked her a lot. I don't always like Kirk's women, but I liked her a lot.
Was she popping?
I think she was. I think she had this. She had this. She was still his friend. She was still good with.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you meet some of these Kirk cast-offs.
She wasn't the
and
jilted lover.
Yeah, they have some issues. They're bringing some back. And she's like, listen, I haven't seen you in 4 years, 7 months, and an odd number of days, but let's have a drink.
Once again, the writing of the day, she was not a jilted lover.
Right.
She was not drawing her value of who she is from the man she was dating. She was a great lawyer in her own right.
Accomplished.
And didn't need the man to complete her, but sure wanted one.
And she didn't have to have a competing story arc. In other words, she was this jilted lover, and then she at first is going to go after him because of that, and then she finds this moral strength and overcomes it, and this whole. And she's just very matter of fact. She's like, Jim, you got to take this seriously, and I know somebody, and he can help you because you're going up against me. It's nothing personal, my dear old friend.
Yes.
But I'm going to smash you. Hulk smashes.
I'm going to bury you. I'm going to bury you. Can.
Well,
bury you.
It's great because she's laying this out for him. And what comes across all at once is she's still got a lot of love for him. But she's telling him, you're going up against a shark, because she hasn't told him yet. You're going up against a shark, and that shark has orders for the good of the service.
That's right.
To take you out.
That's right.
And it's going to happen, my dear.
That's what she says.
It's going to happen. But she also makes a really important statement about Kirk. I think it's at this point. It's another commentary on Starfleet captains. Because Kirk's kind of saying, "Hey, I'm innocent. This is not gonna be a problem." And she's like, "No, it's going to be a problem because you're not an ordinary guy.
That's right.
Right.
You're a captain."
So when he comes in and he's jovial, as is pointed out,
Yeah.
she makes the point that you're a little bit too jovial,
Right.
because this is some serious stuff.
But she says, when he's trying to glaze over and she's trying to make him understand, she says, "You're not a man. You're a Starfleet captain."
Right.
So once again, you don't get to have the foibles and shortcomings that the other people get to have. You're on another tier, and they're going to take you out to protect the integrity of that tier.
This is a good point because Captain Palpatine, you made a statement in Doomsday Machine when Decker was broken,
Right.
that he was a captain, and now he's not. He's just a regular dude.
Right.
Yep.
He's broke.
Lost your superpowers.
Right.
So at this point, it looks like Kirk is going to be broken, although he's got tidal power. But the way it's written, you're looking at it, you're thinking like, how in the heck he's going to get out of here?
Star Trek, not Star Kirk.
How in the heck is he going to get out of this one? And she points out that you're not an average Joe. You can't get to that level to be a starship captain and be the average Joe.
Right.
You've got to be a cut above the rest. And as we go through in this episode, we see how much Kirk is above the average. But just to be a captain, not be a captain with accolades, just to be a
Right.
captain, you've got to be up there.
Right.
Yeah, they don't hand the keys to a starship to just anybody. That's a fact.
Mm.
So it's a great scene because it could have been a blow off scene where Kirk's just trying to romance this lady, but there's a lot there. a whole lot comes across about their relationship. From her point of view, I almost got the impression that if not for the fact that Kirk was, disappearing for 5 years at a time, she might really be trying to have something with him, but she understands the gig. She understands.
I think she's got her career and he's got his.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those things where they have a relationship. I don't think they ever talked about getting married and having kids, but they were like, you're still special in my life, and when we run into each other, we just pick up where we left off, and when we part, I'll see you as soon as I can, and away we go. It's not this, everything's got to be some sort of prelude to a tragic love story.
Right.
No.
This is just,
I'm gonna put in a request to Audio Arthur to generate us a theme music, love soundtrack. Fight soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Violence playing.
Have to be self-orchestrated.
No.
Can I steal this?
There are themes on the show. So when he's putting his mojo down,
Reoccurring.
yeah,
audio
there's
gotcha.
music that comes there.
Yeah,
and the fight one, you can show that to a 3-year-old, and they'll start humming it.
So if you could generate us some theme music for various points in this as we go through Man on Track, and of course for Keith,
That's
There
it.
it goes.
we need.
There it goes.
Yeah, there it is.
That is it.
Yep.
So when we get to like a romantic
Yeah.
scene, we change
Or
the
when we're
music.
talking about something romantic, you just hit that.
That's good.
And then we need a phaser, someone being disintegrated. So when we
Okay.
blast Admiral,
That'll be
looks
off the
good
air.
in red.
Arthur,
No, we want that.
don't help them mutiny. Remember who's in charge. Do not help them mutiny.
Of course.
That's the soft focus.
I'm going to have to send in Commodore Khan to deal with you two captains.
Kirk's trying to smooth, but she's trying to keep him on track.
Yeah,
Look, dude,
and
this
a
is
true
important.
friend. A true friend.
A true friend.
She's a true friend.
And that's
She's like, look, we're gonna have time later
yeah,
to partay.
after I destroy you.
Right, but right now, there'll be conjugal visits. when you're on Rura Pente.
Well, no. She's probably thinking, hey, they're gonna bust him right here. He'll be riding the desk right here at the Starbase.
And
We can have dinner.
We can get busy.
Oh, Men on Trek.
That's it. Oh,
Men on Trek episode 5, NC-17. But
that's the I'll see you later music.
it is. That's fade to black right there.
Yeah, it is.
That's fade to black.
The picture for this soundtrack is Kirk with the Gorn. They're holding each other closely.
Oh, that's terrible. It's terrible. That's terrible.
So she what as a good friend.
Now she throws out an attorney. She says,
As
you need to get, what's his name?
Cogley.
Samuel B. Cogley or
Yes.
Sam Bernstein, whatever the heck.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
nobody outside of Michigan knows who Stan Bernstein is.
But she sets him up with a lawyer, and probably the best available.
Well, she recommends him because she knows he's an unorthodox person, and that it's going to take something like that to save Kirk from what should be a certain career-ending conviction.
Yeah.
So he leaves. She snaps him out of romance mode and makes him understand how much trouble he's in, and he heads off. He heads back to his quarters and finds out that he's got a new roommate.
Samuel T. Cogley.
Yes.
Samuel T.
Attorney at law.
The T stands for Tiberius.
Uncle Cogley, help me.
Well,
You're my only hope.
so you're back in that other place again.
No, I wasn't. That's in your mind.
That's where you chose. Deep in your heart, you want to be a master Jedi.
So-
That's the problem.
So Cogley moves in with Kirk. Does anybody
He
find
did.
that
Kirk-
mildly
right.
disturbing?
Kirk never called for Cogley. She said Cogley, and Cogley shows up.
With all his books.
All his books.
And that's Kirk's quarters.
on
he's in.
the starbase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirk's got himself a little apartment on the starbase, and Cogley's taking over.
Yeah.
Books everywhere. And it's interesting because they do that to set Cogley as this anachronistic person in his time period. He's not into computers and whatnot. But in 1967, Cogley would have been a very common, normal guy. But they had the forethought to write it in where it's like, he's this throwback guy. He still believes in books and the things you can see and the human being. And
Well, he doesn't trust computers from the very beginning,
Right.
he says.
right.
And this case is almost tailor-made for him because who's Kirk going up against? He's going up against the computer.
His ship's computer.
Right.
At least that's what it looks like.
Right.
Right.
It looks like he's going up against the computer.
Yes.
Right. Once again, that's a good point, Khan. That's a good point because the episode throws you off when you think it's going to be this.
You're about to warp way to the end of the episode, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
It's
I'm
from
just-
a
I'm just-
storytelling standpoint, it's an excellent use of misdirection,
Yes.
Yes.
especially with the way that they're writing the story, that the audience isn't finding out anything until the characters do.
Right.
So as
So when you see that tape, you're like, I was sitting there, how the hell does he get out of this?
Right.
Because, I mean, that's a slam dunk.
right. It looks like a slam dunk. But as he's meeting Cogley, he says you're either an escaped lunatic.
Or Samuel T. Cogley,
Samuel-
attorney at law. And he
Right.
said both, correct on both accounts.
Right. Right. I am a lunatic.
Yeah.
And I am Samuel T. Cogley, attorney at law. The guy is going to pull your bacon out of the fire if pulling bacon is possible.
And I want to thank Commodore Khan for adding that to our lexicon where he said misdirect.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I think we've struggled with that for 4 episodes where we try to talk about what is it that we're, what is happening here. And it's that misdirect from that plot standpoint, misdirecting you. And that's what we're seeing here.
But it's a logical misdirect.
Absolutely.
It's not.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not.
some,
It's not a MacGuffin that they just pulled out of their hat
Right.
Yeah.
to justify this misdirection.
Yes.
The misdirection has a logical point to it.
Yep.
It's not like, okay, the guy who should win, the guy who should beat the zombies in white, don't do it, and his sister drops in out of nowhere with a dagger. That.
I knew, you know what? I knew you were going to go there because that was the Game of Thrones was the first thing I was thinking of.
We don't say these other shows.
He said it. He said it. Only audio Arthur can
I
save us
can't say I
now.
blame you.
Only audio Arthur can save us now.
I heard him say gay of Tros.
Yeah.
Squire of Gothos.
Yes.
Squire. I heard him say Squire of Gothos.
He said Squire of Gothos when the girl drops from
That's,
the knife.
that's what he's going to say in post anyway.
She jumps off
But-
she jumps off and hits him, nails Squire Trelane with a knife.
But it is the misdirection that we see in this level of writing back in those days that made sense. And when it truly happened, you were shocked because you didn't see the twist coming. You were trying to figure out, how's he going to get out of this? Obviously, there must be something wrong with the computer, or something's going on, or some alien is messing with something.
But they haven't. It's good writing because it builds genuine tension, and they haven't telegraphed the punch, so to speak. You're not sitting there 30 minutes before the fact knowing exactly what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You got a real sense of this is bad, and I don't see how this comes out.
Right.
And it uses the 3-act structure where you have certain pieces, but you're not sure how to put them together, and you need to get to that last act to get the resolution.
Well, we have the initial problem given to us at this point. What happened, and the situation the captain is now in, not the Enterprise, purely Kirk. The problem he's facing, and then who's going to help him in this journey. And it doesn't appear to be anybody else helping him.
Yeah.
And as the trial begins and starts to proceed, it looks as though even his attorney's not going to help him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's
I know.
very good point. Like
Yeah.
he is an escaped lunatic.
Heading into the next act. Yeah. Well, let me ask everybody. At this point in the episode, is anybody still entertaining the possibility that maybe Kirk killed this guy on purpose, or
No.
that Kirk had some
No.
that Kirk had some malice?
No.
No,
Yeah.
I'm waiting to learn that thing that I don't know,
Yeah. What
because there's
what caused this issue?
yeah.
As much as they're constantly telling you it's not the computer, you're still thinking in the back of your mind there's got to be a computer problem.
Must be the computer somehow.
It
Yeah.
must be the computer somehow. We don't know. But I'm thinking someone must have reprogrammed it or done something. Spock can't find it. But
Yeah.
we find this later on. So
The only
Yeah.
thing I thought was that I felt was maybe a little fabricated was when Kirk was filling out his deposition, going over it, and that's where Commodore Stone says, "You're going through that a lot," and he's like, "Yeah, well, I lost a guy," and at this point, not that he shouldn't care about losing a guy, but it just seemed like maybe that was a little bit for his one-up to
a
see.
hint that maybe something nefarious was going on.
No, that he was kind of artificially just pretending like it bothered him. Like he's supposed to show some remorse.
Well, in that scene, you also have the daughter come in, and she and we said this, she lays into him
Right.
with both barrels and laid all the
Yeah.
emotions on the table. If you're driven by emotion, you're saying James T's a dirty, no good killer. I mean, come on. The daughter comes in. You hated my daddy forever, and you finally got a chance to flush him, and you did it. You flushed him.
yeah.
I mean, that would be like, if you don't know the character, you
Right.
don't know the person. You mean,
Right.
oh, okay. The man's dead, and the daughter said you hated him forever, and now, more than likely, you pushed that button with malice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, we head into the next act, and there's a little bit of what I think is kind of obvious Star Trek trivia, but we hear the computer a lot in this episode, and we know who that is, right? We
Yep.
know who the computer's voice is, right?
Right.
Somebody can put it in the comments, or anybody want to throw that out there, or you want to make the people put it in the comments?
Let the people who write in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you know who the voice of the computer is in the original series, put it in the comments. And while you're there, like and subscribe. Because if you don't, you might be court-martialed. So
No, that's too easy for them.
no,
Flush them.
no.
Flush
Starfleet
them.
Starfleet has rules. We're gonna find them guilty before we flush them.
Well, no, I don't need to find them guilty if I got a red light flashing.
No.
But they just eject their blood.
See, you guys are
can
missing.
flush.
You guys are missing the point. There's
You flush.
rules. There's rules
just-
before
I just
somebody.
need the red light flashing.
There's rules.
But the red light flashing is finding the listener guilty of not having subscribed.
No.
Commodore Khan, why are all the lights on your panel red?
Yes, exactly.
Turbulence.
So
Space turbulence.
Is there a Men on Trek T-shirt for this person when they
anything's
put it in
possible.
there? All right.
Anything's
Just checking.
possible. I mean, it's a big universe. I mean, if you're under threat of getting flushed out an airlock, there should be some reward on the other side of it. But
An MOT 2020 T-shirt.
yeah.
So
Well, we might have to run in 2024, but let's not talk about that. Because I'll start saying things. Never mind. So yeah, next act, the hearing begins.
another Star Trek hearing. There's a lot of court scenes
There's
in
a
the
lot.
old episodes.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of litigation.
I think they had a bell at one point. Ding, 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 ding.
They did.
Well, he uses it. Stone
he?
uses it.
Does he? I
Yes,
missed
So
it.
he brings the hearing to order with
Okay.
with the bell.
Yeah.
Naval tradition.
Yep.
So you have the hearing, and again, like we were talking about, you're hearing the computer quite a bit, and you get a kind of a cool breakdown of the
Main cast.
of the main cast. Starting with Spock.
accolades.
They sit down, they begin to identify these people, and you kind of get a sense of why the Enterprise is so adept at surviving the unknown and making it back from their missions.
Beyond just being the second ship on scene.
Well, that always helps. Always helps. So, in what's important, I think, outside of hearing, these guys got a lot of decorations and accolades behind them, and it fleshes out the characters. I think the overriding thing here is that you're really getting into the character of the captain, and it's captain's qualities, but it's also Kirk's personal character.
Well, when the hearing starts, and the fences are read, and the plea is given, and Kirk stands up straight back and says, "I'm innocent."
Mm-hmm.
There's no wishy-washy, no foibles. He just straight up, "Look, I'm innocent." And then we get into the calling of the witnesses, and then all the accolades, which was, as you point out, Admiral Richard, is very enlightening.
Yes.
That these are not your average guys on the Enterprise.
Right.
These are top of the top of the top that happen to be serving with Captain James T. Kirk.
Yes.
Spock's first, isn't he?
Spock's first. Spock is first.
It says Lieutenant Commander Spock, position first officer. Current assignment USS Enterprise. Commendations Vulcan Science Legion of Honor. Awards of Valor. Twice decorated by Starfleet Command. And Mr. Spock is the first officer. Now that's just Spock, and now she goes into asking Spock questions. But those are his accolades.
She says something about as the science officer or the first officer of the Enterprise, you would know something about computers, and he says, "I know all about them."
Right.
Yes.
I know all about them.
There's nothing new about a computer
That's right.
that I don't know about it.
Yeah.
And it goes to the Dystrom episode, because he was very up on Dystrom's work.
Right.
M5.
Yep. He even says he has a class something
Class
rating.
A. Class A rating.
Something like that.
And Spock's delivery, I think, is so impactful because Spock's not coming from an emotional place, and Spock's of the view. I don't want to even say opinion. Spock's of the view that it's not possible for Kirk to have done what they accused him of.
Right.
It's simply not within him to do it.
Right.
He says it. He says it exactly that way.
Right.
And he delivers it right. That's what I like about that delivery is he delivers it like, "Hey, I'm not human. I'm not telling you how I feel. I'm telling you I know this man, and it is not possible for him."
He has a great line. He says, "Human beings have characteristics just like inanimate objects."
Right.
Like, I just love that. It's just basically saying, you're like a car when I start you. Like, I know how long it's going to take the starter to go before they...
He says if a planet has gravity and I drop a hammer, I don't have to see the hammer hit the ground. I know it's going to hit the ground.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And that's how he's talking about Kirk's character. He's saying Kirk's character is unflappable.
Well, Kirk is a by the book kind of guy.
Right.
He was a very studious ensign in Starfleet Academy. We find that out when he's getting the taste beat out of him by Finnegan.
Well, they come across that several times. They talk about how hard a worker he was, how much he studied.
Right. Kirk is an overachiever.
Yes.
So, and it comes out in this episode too, but Spock's asked a question about the computers, and he's done the check, and even though the computers say Kirk did it, Spock is saying, nah.
Is loyalty an emotion? Because Spock has huge loyalty.
Yeah, he has loyalty.
Especially to Pike.
Yes.
Because I'm sure we're going to deal with that only two-parter that I know of that exists.
It is the only two-parter.
Right. And you talk about loyalty. What Spock does, basically, is just it should have destroyed his career. But he was acting in the best interest of Captain Pike. So, I don't know. Is it an emotion? Is loyalty an emotion? It's a character trait, right?
It's a character trait.
Yeah.
And there can be some logic behind loyalty, but there can be some emotion behind loyalty.
Yeah, you can probably get there from a logical standpoint of if you look at it as a reaction to stimuli. Kirk does X, so Spock responds with Y. So therefore, loyalty is a reaction. It's a logical reaction to what is happening.
He said it on the Ultimate Computer. He said, remember he was talking to him. He said, a starship runs by something more than just computers. It runs to loyalty to a single person.
Yes.
Right. To the captain.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would lie for him.
No.
No, Spock wouldn't. I don't think Spock would lie for anybody.
He lied for Pike.
No, he left out information. If you can look at it that way.
All right.
Because there's one episode where on Doomsday Machine, when they were trying to get around Decker taking over the ship,
Spock wouldn't do it.
Spock was just straight up. He goes, "Man, McCoy said, this is time for you to leave out information. This would have been it."
Oh yeah, that's right.
Spock, you could have lied one time.
That's right. Or not followed the rules one time.
But Spock is going to follow the rules, and from his opinion, through logic, Kirk could not have done it.
Right.
So the next person that comes up is McCoy.
No, it's the records personnel.
You sure?
Oh yeah, the records person,
I think so.
who is not named. Yes.
Yeah. Ensign.
They
name her. Ensign something.
The personnel clerk. And
Personnel officer.
The personnel officer.
I thought that was she would have had a higher rank than Ensign.
Yeah, that's an entry level gig.
No, I mean,
She's an
ensign is the lowest commissioned rank in the Navy. So your gig is personnel records. That's about right. A lieutenant doesn't need to be doing that. Aren't you glad you're not an ensign, Arthur? But
well,
she's kind of just in and out.
In a cross-examination, he stops talking to the lawyer and he talks directly to the judges. Spock does.
Yes, he does.
He just cuts out the middlewoman and goes straight to the judges.
Yeah.
And that's when he starts talking about the hammer and all these various things of the traits of humans.
That's interesting too, because Spock is very dismissive of the process of Ariel. She's trying to grill him, and he's like, "Whatever."
It's not Amok time. I ain't got no use for you.
It's not Amok time.
I got no use for you. See me in a couple of episodes.
Well, I think he understands. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. He understands the human trial component of. And the drama involved in it, and he's just not going to put up with it.
Yeah.
You can try to maneuver me. It's not going to happen. You're going to try to make me say something that I let slip out. It's not. We're just wasting the time here. I'm just going to tell you that the captain wouldn't, couldn't, and shouldn't, and never will do what you're accusing him of. Can we just get back to the mission?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Khan.
No, Khan was just agreeing.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with what you were saying, because
that's your job from now on, to agree with Captain Dystrom.
Captain Dystrom wants.
I want a yes, Khan.
Khan outranks you. You have no respect. No.
So we have the
pass him over for promotion.
The young
Asian
ensign. We want to make sure that people know that Trek is inclusive.
Well,
so is Men on Trek.
You've got an Indian captain up there.
Yep. Oh, they went whole. They went whole hog on this one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's one of the cool things about the original series. It does the whole diversity, equality thing without hitting you in the face with it.
Woke.
They never made a big deal about it. They didn't ram it down your throat.
Yeah, it's just there. There's people of every shape, size, and color just walking around doing their thing, and nothing's said, and that's perfect. It's great. It's great, especially for the time it was created, because that was not what was happening. But they presented this image. I mean, it's hard for us to think of it as controversial, but 1967 primetime television.
Yes.
You got these black people walking around. You got these
black people with authority.
Asian people walking around. Hispanic people walking around.
Stones willing to hammer, man.
Yeah. Well,
and you're talking 67.
67.
We're just out of segregation.
These people represented the best of Starfleet.
The best of humankind.
Yes.
Right.
All those guys.
And in an era of the Cold War, you got somebody who's clearly, well, I mean, post World War II. World War II is pretty still fresh in people's mind. You got Lieutenant Sulu, a Japanese guy.
You got a Russian.
Yeah, you got a Russian later on.
Okay.
You have Chinese people, and it's the Cold War. You got people of every walk, every creed,
Very eclectic group.
and it's just not. The power of it is that it's not called out, it's not spoken of.
Right.
It's never treated as an issue.
Once again, as we point out on Men on Track, it's not shoved down your throat.
Right.
Yeah.
It's glazed over smoothly, and you just see it.
Right.
I don't need to know the guy's sexual orientation. It's just there.
No.
You'll see that now. You'll see it now in a movie when they have someone of diversity. They'll come in for a close-up. They'll hold it. The person will smile, and you're like, "Oh, look, there's a diverse person on the screen."
Yes.
When they announced the 3 officers that were up there with Stone, and they said one was Captain Chandra, there was no close-up. They were just like, "See, he's up there. That's it. Let's go on."
Right.
But there would have been a close-up and a smile and somebody looking at him and smiling and nodding
And the fact that
Well, again, you're looking at a difference between society then and society now. And somebody remind me, what did we do? What big thing happened the year that Star Trek went off the air?
Oh.
civil rights. Well, was that 60? That would have been 69.
Yeah.
We landed on the moon.
Well,
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now?
Well, we're working on it.
Yeah.
We're reverting backwards.
We have Elon Musk building rockets that Werner von Braun did in the 50s to get us up to the space station.
Yeah, we're reverted backwards.
Yeah.
But after,
Yeah, but what is our media and our entertainment doing there? Arguing over stuff like sexual orientation and
yeah, things that we have overcome, but they won't let us get beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're dragging us back in. But let's keep it upbeat and stay on Men on Track. So they bring in.
So yeah, they bring in Dr. McCoy.
McCoy does well.
Great. You agree?
Don't do it.
I'm great.
McCoy does well in this.
Yes.
You can see he looks a little grumpy up there. He doesn't want to be a part of this.
McCoy's always great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, actually.
And she starts in on him. Are you not an expert on space psychology?
Hold
and
on.
what happens to people in close quarters and
Let's get through his accolades first.
oh,
Award of Valor, decorated by Starfleet surgeons. Let's see, what else does it say? Especially in the terms of psychology,
yeah.
Psychology.
and how people respond in tight quarters in deep space. And he's a professional in it. And she asked him the question, do you know about these things? And he goes, I know a little about it.
Right.
He's so smooth. He's so relaxed.
He didn't say he was an
Nice.
expert. She was saying that he was an expert.
Right.
Wow.
And he's like, I know something about it, but I'm not.
Yeah, but he has his accolades as well.
Right.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
He's
Brilliant.
right. He's right. He's a cut.
He's a fighting
above.
doc. He's a fighting doc.
Yeah.
He's out there.
Although, well, McCoy probably takes it on the chin more than anybody else in the series across all the different episodes.
Yeah,
but
but-
he
yeah,
tries.
He's still trying.
But he's not a conscientious observer. McCoy runs around with
That's
a
right.
phaser too.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And if he's got a chance, he's gonna blast you.
He will.
Yeah, he generally misses though. He's just not very good at it.
Does McCoy have any body count in any of the episodes? Does he?
I'm sure he does. I mean, there's times where they're just blazing with the phasers. I'm sure he's got some, but not very much.
That would be interesting. No, maybe somebody will help us out on that one.
Yeah, put in the comments.
How many monsters has McCoy
when-
killed?
Phaser kills from McCoy. I guess that's what we're looking for.
That's what we're looking for.
He tried to fight Mirror Spock.
Yeah, tried.
Hey, man.
Yeah, that's true.
He-
That's true. When the mirror Spock was throwing everybody around the sick bay.
Yeah. Cage match. But so McCoy breaks out his accolades, and maybe he's still hoping Ariel will have a drink with him at some point because he's being nice. He's being way nicer than Spock. But again, character of the man. McCoy, from a human standpoint, in his own way, is saying the same thing.
When she took him out in left field.
Yeah.
Could it not be hypothetically possible that if Captain Lieutenant Admiral Smith learned that Captain Smith Jones,
Lieutenant Commander Jones,
didn't like them, that they could end up developing a dislike for the person who disliked them when they found out that they didn't like them anymore? Is it possible?
Yeah,
And I thought lawyer Kugley was going to jump up and go, "You're leading the witness," or "Objection, Your Honor." Or,
no, he didn't care.
No, he didn't care. He let her. She took him all the way out left. They went and picked daisies for 5 minutes.
She was hitting on things that happen in normal life to normal people, but under Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek, society supposedly moved beyond
Not that far.
a lot of this petty stuff.
No, not completely. Not completely. Because you see it. You just don't see it from Captain.
Especially not during that era of Trek.
Yeah.
And as
People were still people.
Yeah. They weren't. Next Gen tried to.
Yeah.
They were better, but they weren't unrealistically.
Well, they're coming together. There's the
perfect.
Federation. They're out there doing. They're not having their wars anymore with each other. I think Roddenberry wanted it to be a little bit more
evolved.
Yeah, these were
absolutely.
more evolved
Absolutely.
humans. But I mean, a couple hundred years. So what do you get out of that? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, and you know how easy is it to be unified as humans when you discover a universe full of non-humans?
Right.
It makes it a piece of cake to kind of get over your.
I don't have time to worry about you when I got a Superman Gorn running,
Yeah.
running around.
Don't.
We got to team up.
Not running. Mark.
But that's interesting, you know, to introduce the idea the way that she did, because I think that there are people out there who are not Captain James T. Palpatine supporters, but I don't think I would necessarily reflect that back on those individuals. Or it was just an interesting line that she took. It's like, if you know there's somebody out there that doesn't like you, after a while you will develop a dislike for that person.
It's a fundamental human reaction, but I think it has to do more with when you're interacting with someone personally.
Yeah. But the logical extension from that wouldn't be killing them. You would just get them off of your ship.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before I go the route of killing you.
It's a lot easier for me to just reassign you.
Remember, Kirk.
Let Khan
Go ahead,
get his
Khan.
thought in.
Go ahead, Khan.
It's a lot easier for me to just find a reason to reassign you.
Right.
That's absolutely correct.
It's piece of cake to give Finney a bad fitness report.
Because what isn't the episode where No Man Has Gone Before, where they go through the barrier and his
buddy.
What's his name?
Gary Mitchell.
Yep, Mitchell.
He requested Mitchell to be on his ship for his first command.
That was his buddy.
He could have easily said, I don't want Ben Finney on my ship.
Yep, I want him reassigned.
Yeah.
Once you learn, if her logic is correct, that Finney dislikes you, then the easiest thing is go, okay, I'm having you reassigned.
Yeah.
We're pulling up to Starbase. Get off.
Or in Starfleet, it's just as easy to destroy a person by just putting them on report.
Bad fitness report in your.
That's absolutely bad fitness report.
So although it seems like what she says is logical, it is not.
Right.
It's so much easier just to get the guy off your ship.
Yep.
Yeah. But what she was doing was she was forcing McCoy to concede that basic human nature would result in a certain response. She just wanted to make him say it.
Under select circumstances.
But she wanted to make him say it.
Right.
But you could critique it and maybe say, well, this is just all a waste of time, and she should have just opened with the computer video. But what Mark was saying is that they took this opportunity to reveal Spock and McCoy on who they were, and then they were able to say without a questionable doubt that Kirk would never do something like
Their
this.
confidence in their captain.
Right.
This is not a man looking up to, the great Captain Kirk.
Right.
These are guys up there themselves.
Right.
On significant levels that they've gotten bronze stars and this and the surgeon this and this, that, and the other, and a Vulcan Science Award. These are not your average guys.
Right.
And they still believe that Kirk could not and would not have done this.
Right. Which brings us to the main event, so to speak. And Cogley finally has something to say. They ask Cogley, what are you doing? You haven't cross-examined. You haven't intervened. Cogley's like, I'm waiting for you to finish wasting time so I can put the man himself on the stand and we can get down to this.
And that's where you get Captain James T sits in the chair, put his hands on the lie detector. That's what I'm calling it. It's probably just something to
for identification.
And they proceed to run down all the estimable rewards or awards.
A mere fraction of his glory.
I think it is a lie detector because if it was just for identity, they would put it on once and then push it to the side. They kept their hand on it the whole time. I think it was meant to be a lie detector. Because they could have just, if it was just identity and they put their hand on there and then pushed it away.
All they used it for was identity, but who knows? I mean, would it have actually changed color if they detected a physiological change to say that they were alive?
What the writer of the show meant it to be and what was explained to us are two different things.
Right.
Yeah, we have no way of knowing.
Right. So this is just a subjection of us.
Yeah.
And
Well, it got its own close-up, so it had to be important.
yes, it did.
Yeah. I visually, I think it.
I don't think it's a barcode reader. That's all I'm saying.
Visually, I think it almost took the significance or the place of putting your hand on the Bible and swearing to tell the truth.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But once again, that's only once.
But still, yeah, I think. But the way they did it, that's what I saw. That visual cue of.
You have that phaser effect ready yet?
Why do you get to go way out in left field? And when I speculate a little bit,
Because you're the guy that's supposed to keep us reined in.
Yeah, you're the admiral.
You don't
You're
get
the
to go
admiral.
off.
We are just lowly captains running around here smashing windows.
you never make Commodore with this attitude. Never. Khan will be the only Commodore in MOT fleet.
Thank goodness we have a Commodore finally. We finally have a Commodore. The best episodes have Commodores.
And some of them die.
Now they want your job, Khan. Now they want your job. Although,
So they call Captain Kirk.
You going to read off all his awards?
Yeah, I think it's necessary.
they only read a fraction of his glory. They did eventually stop.
So they get Kirk to come up and they give his number. SC. No, I'm not going to.
Serial number.
Yeah, serial number. Hold on, I just passed it.
Don't. I think he even won the Tennessee hot dog eating contest. I think he did it all. He did it all.
Did it all, huh? Oh my goodness, where did he jump to?
See.
Yeah.
Captain Dystrom. Failed to find the accolade switch. I don't think his
Well,
career,
the computer's reading them off, and then
yeah.
the prosecuting attorney says, "Your Honor, we're not here to debate the what did she say?
The excellence of
Estimable.
the estimable career of Captain Kirk."
Right.
But Cogley finally objects and says, "No, we need to hear this."
Okay. Palm Leaf of Exeter. Yeah. Oh, it's went awry again.
Let's just say he's got a lot of awards.
Yeah.
What's
What's funny is as they're being read off by the computer, and she goes, "Well, I think we've heard enough," and Cogley goes, "Yeah, well, maybe so," and then he goes, "Well, I wouldn't want the wheels of justice to roll over my client, so maybe we should hear the rest of them." And it started going again,
Right.
and then Cogley goes, "I guess that's enough." So you get this picture that although they're all Starfleet officers,
Nobody's got a record like that.
Nobody's got a Kirk is an overachiever.
Okay.
Yeah. He's definitely.
I would have liked to hear Stone's record.
Yeah.
Well, Stone's a Commodore. I'm sure he's got more years
Stone,
to put it up.
Stone puts his hand on the light thingy and it says everything Kirk has done plus, and it runs down, all these things.
Well, they did. I remember in Kirk they did say Medal of Honor, and in the U.S. that's your highest.
That's the highest military award.
That's the highest military award.
But Stone, Stone's old enough. He beat up Jonathan Archer in a bar. Got a commendation for that. I mean, Stone's
those
just
two
that guy.
those two captains that were up on the panel. Those were senior gentlemen. Let's just put it that way.
Well, they call
30 years on Kirk.
They call that out. Kirk's a young man to be a captain. No, any other captain you see has got a little gray. Nobody looks like Kirk when you see him.
Right. In the episodes, nobody's young. Nobody's as young as Kirk.
You stand Kirk up in a lineup with a bunch of lieutenant commanders and nobody would know the difference.
Even some of the lieutenant commanders are old.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they're like Finney.
Yeah.
So.
Good point.
Yeah. So Kirk's on the stand and they run down his many accolades, and it's ironic because at this point in the series, Kirk's only been a starship captain for a little while. He's done all this already.
Oh yeah.
He's gotten all this done as a young lieutenant or a lieutenant commander or an ensign. He's had quite the career already.
Right.
Which is probably how he got a ship so soon.
Absolutely.
And then it's the same thing. She's pressing Kirk on his judgment, and she's takes the tack of trying to just admit you made a mistake.
And he's like, I did everything in the right order and the right way at the right time.
Well, it's when Stone asked him,
and I would do it again.
A question's asked him, would you do it again? And then he goes, if all the situations are the same, I would do the exact same thing. Why? Because what it comes out is what's important is the ship.
Absolutely.
He says that.
If I've got to push the button on my best friend in the
ship is everything.
In the tube, Jeffrey's tube or whatever it was,
ion pod.
The ion pod. If I got to push the button, it's either him or all of us.
Yeah.
When he says, "There's nothing more important than my ship."
Yes.
The ship.
Always the ship.
At that point, they take a view of the young girl, and she's processing the ship or one guy. And that's the position you would be in as a captain.
Right.
Just like submariners when they have to seal off portions of the sub because of flooding.
Any naval ship does that. That's battle stations. They seal hatches.
So you feel for the guy behind the bulkhead that gets sealed.
Yeah.
But it's him or all of us. This goes initially to the fact of Finney's write-up, the atomic piles. It's him or all of us.
Right. You can't endanger the ship.
If Kirk was going to do what was right back then, you would think he would do what would be right today.
Right. It is.
Now that doesn't always play true with humans, but in this story,
he didn't stop in orbit of a planet and set up a colony on his own or break the prime directive like some of his peers did.
Right.
But
can you imagine Captain Tracy's trial?
Yeah, if he brought Tracy back. Yeah.
Well, he does bring Tracy back.
Well, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, we'll save that for Mega Glory.
Yeah, let's stay on the court martial. But
they probably put him in a shuttlecraft and send him to is it Talos 4 is the death penalty?
No, they probably sent him to that insane asylum planet where Captain Garth took over.
Oh yeah.
Probably send Tracy for reconditioning.
That's right.
Yeah. He got reconditioning.
But honestly, with all that Tracy did, his court martial would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But
at least he didn't kill his crew.
Right. But
killed a lot of Yangs. But he didn't kill his crew.
Yeah. But
so they've got Kirk on the stand, and now she goes into the computer video record.
And you find out that, well, this isn't the first episode. This might be the first episode where they show up, but there are other episodes where that what happens on the ship is recorded. There is.
He shows up in the cage.
They're in the cage and the menagerie. And
But that makes sense to me.
absolutely.
I never thought that. I never questioned that as a kid. I never questioned it as an adult. I think if you had that kind of technology, heck, everybody's got these Ring doorbells and everything now. It's like,
Yeah.
So I get it. Everything would probably be recorded.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked even on real warships that there's not video running on the bridge 24/7.
I think there is.
No, not really.
Really?
No.
Oh. Seems
But
like there should
only
be.
in certain specific areas. But you would think so. But so they break out the tape, and we're finally getting at the true adversary, having really just spent a lot of time establishing the strength of Kirk's character.
Did you think those 3 buttons, is that a changing display? Because it said red alert,
Said yellow, red,
alert,
and jettison.
and jettison pod. Yeah, do you think that comes up? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like a heads up display that changes. Like those 3 buttons don't always have that on there.
Yeah, that was pure
Episode.
That was pure plot device for the episode because that's
Storytelling, yeah.
what was that, Con?
That was for storytelling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's probably my
To
own.
show the view.
Yeah, that's probably my only beef with this episode when I think about it. The whole ion pod thing. So you got this thing that a guy has to get in when you go into this dangerous storm. You know it's dangerous, and he has to go in here and take readings. But if the storm hits a certain level, you're going to jettison this thing, which I don't quite get. And if he's not quick, he's going with it, and it's just like, why? But
So wait for captains to get rid of people they
That's
don't
right.
like.
Well, you just explained it. That's why.
it's probably one of the few times I could look at the writing and say that's a little.
Admiral, we just hit an ion storm and your name's up on the duty roster.
No, it is not. I'm an admiral. I'm the last guy that's going in the pod.
That's one of those. That's one of those duties you don't want to pull.
Yeah.
I think the ion pod, and what do I know? And first of all, let me take this as an opportunity for a disclaimer. We do not claim to be experts
No,
on the
not
tech at all.
Not at all.
We're just
Yeah.
friends who grew up and we like talking about good storytelling and good episodes. But if I was going to try to figure it out, I think there are fields that hold the ship together. And in order to get a accurate reading of what the field is outside the ship, you would have to be placed outside of the ship in order to be able to do that. Now, why is there a person in there? Because I think you can't have as much remote computer type drone control in that situation. So you have to have somebody who's making adjustments, working with the computer, and just like anything else, if you are in the wrong place of the ship and something happens, that's your number and you're gone.
I don't think Gene Roddenberry thought that much about that as far as the tech.
Yeah.
I think he just had a story and how do I make this story work
Yeah.
with the loss of a crewman and Kirk being directly responsible.
Yeah.
So he set up scenarios that would
He didn't write.
facilitate,
He didn't write this.
or
one.
whoever the writer
Yeah.
is, set up scenarios that would facilitate the
of course.
jettison of a crew member.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's one of the few times in the old series where something's kind of done as just a contrivance. It doesn't happen very much. Usually the story's very well thought out and everything kind of flows. This is a bit of a contrivance just for the sake of creating a certain scenario.
Yeah, it didn't bother me. They sold me.
It didn't bother me either because the whole scenario is a character study.
Right.
True.
Right. So we have the contrivance to bring forth what is required to be a starship captain and high-ranking starship officers.
Yes. And we've got the character study of Kirk, and we go to the tape, as they say, and much to everybody's shock and surprise, Kirk is adamant about the steps he took. Everybody believes him. We've gone to great depths about the man's character, and then they run the tape, and Kirk has hit the jettison button on yellow.
And he is surprised
Yes, he's shocked.
because he sits there and goes, it didn't happen like that.
That's not how it happened.
That's great. It's great delivery on Kirk's part because
You mean Shatner's part?
I almost never say the people's real names. I
Yeah,
I
but you're
stick to the
talking about
character.
delivery.
Yeah,
So you're not talking about Kirk. You're talking about the guy who's playing him.
I know, but if you go back and listen to episodes 1 through
Audio
4,
Arthur.
I've done the same thing.
Phaser
Yes.
sound.
Yes.
This is mutiny. This is mutiny. This is Dystrom once again.
So it's mutiny.
This is Dystrom once again trying to usurp, trying to get a promotion through assassination. But
Tadlessfield. Tadlessfield. Where's my hot chick? Tadlessfield.
I've been a captain's
Hot woman,
woman
excuse me.
before, and I will be again if I have to go through every officer in the fleet.
I think Mirror Mirror's coming up soon.
It's got to.
Everybody's got Mirror Mirror on the mind.
Yeah.
But so what I love about Shatner's delivery, just to make certain people happy, it's mostly done with not so much in what he says, but what you see when they give him the close up. He, for the first time, Kirk's kind of going, "Did I do that? Did I?
Yeah.
Did I hit the button? No, I did not. Well, maybe did I?" And
He knows he didn't, but the evidence that he's been shown completely refutes.
yeah, it's hard to buck against a video.
So it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
You know,
He has the same thing the audience does.
I was just thinking about something. You know, in England, they have a queen, and she knights people. So there's no sirs. You know, it's like Sir Elton John and everything. You have to be a British. I think you have to be a British subject.
No, she's knighted some non-Britons.
Is she?
Yeah, honorary.
She should knight Sir William.
Sir
Sir
Will,
William Shatner.
he's
Yeah.
Canadian.
Yeah.
He's Canadian.
Can we need to do something about that. Why isn't he Sir William Shatner?
Should we write a petition?
Well,
I think so.
Canada's not officially
Well, has she knighted a Canadian?
probably.
She has to.
She has to have.
Yeah. They're still technically, right?
Yes.
Part of
Yeah.
a part of the,
yes and no. It's on
She's on the currency.
on paper with no official teeth to it. Yes, but Canada's not going to actually bend the knee.
Because Sir Patrick Stewart, right? He was knighted, wasn't he knighted?
Yes,
Yeah, but he's British.
He is English.
But Bill is Canadian.
But I don't think Sir Patrick Stewart was knighted for his run on the Enterprise. I think he was knighted for all the other stuff he did.
Well, I'm just saying it should be Sir William Shatner.
Okay, here we go. Hit like and subscribe and demonstrate your power as a fandom. It is now time. It is now time to get William Shatner knighted, and we know you can do it.
That's right.
So,
I'm going to refer to him as Sir William from now on.
okay, so to make Captain Palpatine a truth teller,
Mm-hmm.
you all now have to go out in the power that we know you have, and you have to get William Shatner knighted by the Queen of England. It's a small task
It's
for
a
you.
small task.
Just make it happen.
Do you think he would be Sir William or Sir Bill?
Sir, well, he might be Sir Bill, but I'm sure they would prefer him to say Sir William.
William.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But go out and get that done and let us know when it's finished in the comments. Make that happen.
I think he gets to invite some people to that that ceremony.
He might invite Men on Track.
Men on Track.
Man on track.
Yeah,
right.
well,
It all started
You
with
that
us.
started all.
we got to make
But seriously, it doesn't make any sense. He should have been,
Uh,
especially if he's Canadian.
maybe,
Anyway.
maybe
Okay, so back to the trial.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yes, get back to the track.
There you go.
thank you, Commodore.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why he's a Commodore. As
Good
captains
leadership.
go
I
off
know.
deep end.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Rogue captains are a recurring theme in Star Trek.
And then we commercial on that cliffhanger where he
We-
says
but
it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah,
Heading
yeah,
into the
yeah.
final act.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Well, they come back and aren't they in James T and
Yeah, it's
Samuel T's quarters?
Yes.
the
Yeah.
T's,
yeah. The
Mr.
two
T's.
the two roommates are discussing the trial, and Kirk has become disheartened. He's-
Kirk starts out by saying that I don't think my lawyer believes in me anymore, and Cogley goes into this not looking good.
Well, I think what I got out of this scene that I really thought was powerful was Cogley kind of tests Kirk here.
Right.
Kirk's having some despair, and Cogley's like, "Well, I can switch gears and throw a plea bargain at you, throw out a plea bargain, and you can become desk guy. And that's
You think
what
he was
wanna do.
testing him?
Absolutely.
I don't. I think Cogley was like, look, I've been through thousands of trials, and sometimes people just forget. You just forgot what happened, and I can still get you not as bad off as you might think if we just change a plea here.
I think Cogley was legitimately stumped on what to do, but I do think he was testing Kirk's resolve to see if Kirk would continue to fight even in the face of what would look like.
Well, that's cool. I mean, we can definitely disagree. Go ahead, Commodore. Or not.
What was that, Khan?
No, I was saying, like you said, in the face of damning evidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
There was like I said earlier, looking at that evidence at face value, that's a slam dunk.
right. But you see, Kirk. What I like about this scene is that Kirk once again self-evaluates.
Right.
And he starts. He's asking himself, "Did I do it? Did I make a mistake?" And as he's self-evaluating, he comes to the conclusion that no, I'm standing. He takes that Superman pose.
Sir William hits the Superman pose.
Yeah.
He puts his fists on his hips and he stands there.
And he's like, no, I didn't do what the computer's saying.
And you hear that.
He does get his shirt ripped later on in the episode,
That's
but
right.
Yeah.
he didn't rip it showing a Superman on it.
Well, again, Cogley, even in his own, even being stumped, I think that's why I took it as a test. He kind of pushes Kirk. He goes, "You giving up?" And Kirk goes, "Absolutely not."
And then at that point, Jamie comes in.
That was the one thing I can remember being as a kid and just seeing it again recently. I don't get her 180.
Yeah, not enough happened.
Once again, I think it's the writer's contrivance to set a scenario where Kirk looks guilty because the young girl comes in and castigates him.
No, he's talking about when she comes in and forgives
No,
him.
I'm saying the first time. So Jim,
No, we're talking about the second
I
time.
know
she
the
comes in.
Admiral's saying, or excuse me, Captain Palpatine is saying that it's sort of off-putting,
Right.
her coming in, but they used her as a contrivance. The writers
Yes.
did to set a bad feeling on Kirk at the beginning, and then at the second time she comes in pure defense of him, which logically shouldn't happen, other than when they're asking Kirk the question. Commodore Stone is asking him the question, "Would you do it again?" After Kirk makes his statement, the camera pans to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's hearing what Kirk is saying. And then at this point, she comes in and goes, "Make him step down. I don't want him destroyed. I know Uncle Jimmy loves the ship, and he would have done everything possible to save my dad and the ship. But the most important thing is the ship." So that's the way I kind of took it. You guys can
That makes sense.
you can
to me.
you can phaser me, audio author, if
No,
I'm
no,
off base.
I'm on your side.
No, get him.
Well said.
No, get him.
See,
just because.
now I got audio author on my side. We're mutiny.
We'll tune
It
in.
just seemed like it was just 180. It's almost, I felt like I almost missed a scene, where
Mark's right. They set the tone for her change of heart based on what you see in the trial, but I agree with you. It feels too fast.
It is too fast, but they have a limited amount of time. How many?
Yes.
50 minutes.
40,
episode?
45. Yeah.
So they've got to make this change. So they film her face to use that for the contrivance of the change.
right?
They don't have
And
time.
honestly,
They don't have time to play it out with her. Go ahead, Commodore.
Yeah, it would on the contrivance, it would actually come off as more contrived if she weren't present during the entire trial, if they hadn't showed that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
True.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah, it would have been completely out of left field then.
Yeah. That makes
Absolutely.
sense now.
You know, they're
There's
doing,
a sound bite.
they're
Mark's
doing-
right.
they're,
He's already great.
they're doing hit it, audio author.
No, don't do
Hit
it.
it, hit it.
You were great. I'm great.
Oh,
See, he listens to me before he listens to the admiral.
yeah, I got
He knows where his he knows he's on the duty roster.
That's
And
right.
he
I'm
might
just
end
here
up
to
in an ion.
entertain. Yeah.
Oh,
He might end up in an ion pod.
I don't know if I'm not
You think I know that?
if I'm not in episode 6, you know what happened.
That's
All
right.
right.
Oh, not looking good for the admiral.
But they have a limited amount of time to give us a good story.
True,
Right.
true.
So they have to slam stuff together.
Yeah.
And they still manage to
Well-
provide us a very good court story
Yes.
in a fantasy, or not fantasy, in the science fiction genre.
Well, this is where Cogley goes, well, there's really nothing much more to do except go back and hear the guilty verdict.
Until Jamie comes in, because he asked the young girl, "This is a man who's accused of killing your father. Really, you want me to get him off a different way?" And Cogley starts to think that something else is going on here.
Right. This is where Cogley becomes inspired.
So he says, "Are you ready?" He goes, "I'm about to be ready."
Yeah.
He's
working on something.
His mind is working because the young girl is posing a picture that it couldn't be that Kirk hated Finney because Finney hated him.
Right. And there's also a very important part in this segment that is completely unintentional on Kirk's part. When he's talking to Spock on the communicator and he says, "Hey, I think I'm about to be out of a job.
Right.
Maybe your next captain won't be able to beat you at chess." And
Mhm.
Spock is inspired. Spock is given a clue. It's a Jinkies moment for Spock. I think Spock should have turned to the camera and said Jinkies.
Jinkies.
Well, Spock starts out. He
He does turn to the camera. He does turn to the camera.
But he didn't say Jinkies.
And he goes, Jinkies. Chess.
Kirk calls Spock and asks him how's the computer search going, and everything's fine. And he makes a statement about, maybe your next captain will be able to lose to you. And Spock thinks about, the computer, or thinks about chess.
Yeah, chess.
So it's an interesting ploy. But Spock says something else to him. "Oh, you sound bitter, Captain.
Yes.
You sound bitter." And Kirk would have the right to be bitter.
No, Kirk should be very upset at this point. He's on his way into despair. He's thinking he's going to lose this thing, but he doesn't. But he doesn't get there.
I don't think he's on his way to despair.
This scene turns it around. He's giving up. He's kind of resigned to I'm going to lose.
Yeah, he's resigned that he's going to lose, but he doesn't seem like he's in despair. What I mean by that, sometimes you think it doesn't seem like it's going to be world ending. It will be the end of his career.
That's world ending.
I think he said it in other episodes. He said, there's other things I can do. I think Kirk, with his resiliency and everything that he's done,
That's what
he's going to adjust to this. I mean, he's going to get guilty, and what is that? I mean, he's not going to get any penal time for this. They're just going to say you can't command a starship anymore. He's not going to take a desk gig. He's going to
Leave Starfleet?
Yeah, he'll leave Starfleet and he'll figure out something else.
He's going to have his own planet with green Ryan girls.
Yeah, I think that's where he is. He's like, yeah, okay. Well, they're going to run me out. I'll figure it out.
In the Ultimate Computer episode, which is later on, when he's doing his existential crisis and he's running through, he makes a statement. I don't need this. I'm not about this for the prestige.
Right.
There are other things I can do.
But there's nothing else he really wants to.
There's nothing else he wants to do, but that doesn't mean that he's out of options.
Right.
At this place, he might be resigned that his Starfleet career is over, but he's not ready to go to off himself.
No, not at all.
Oh no, I didn't say he was going to kill himself.
When I talk about world ending, I'm thinking about the person being at that point where they're about to just give up on life.
No. No, I'm not going there. I'm not saying that.
He's like, I'm going to sleep well tonight because I know I didn't do it. I get it. When you see that video, that's of course they're gonna come to the conclusion they're gonna come to. Tomorrow I'm gonna hang up my uniform and I'm gonna go and do something else. And I think that's where he's at. He's not depressed or dejected or bitter or anything. He's starting to get used to the new reality, and that is this is not going to go my way, but I've got other ways I can go.
Right. So Spock, the scene changes, and Spock is now in the
Rec room.
and
Playing
he's
chess.
playing chess. And McCoy comes in, and you got a great line off the top. He says, "You're one cold-blooded man."
Yeah.
And Spock goes, "Yeah."
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why?
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. You are the most cold-blooded person I've ever met. So I thank you, Doctor.
And Spock goes, "You're playing chess." Yeah, and I beat the computer 4 times.
4 times. Right.
Watch this, Doctor, and he wins again. And McCoy starts working it through his mind. He says,
That shouldn't be possible.
right, this shouldn't be possible. And Spock explains that he programmed it himself, and unless he makes a mistake, they should come up with a draw. So something is wrong.
Right. Spock proves there's something wrong with the computer.
Spock finds proof that there's something wrong with the computer. And then McCoy goes, "Well, why are you still sitting here?" And then they both jump up and run to their cabins and change clothes.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Because you can't show up in court wearing your regular duty uniform.
Even if it's an emergency.
Even if it's an emergency. Even if it's an emergency. I wonder why the transporters just can't transport you and change your
I
clothes.
was thinking
on the way.
that. I was thinking that.
That's a lot of pattern. That's a lot
I
of
was
pattern buffer
thinking
memory.
that
If it can do
exactly
your-
at the same time that you were thinking.
If
and
it
I'm
can
like,
do your DNA, it should be able to change your
why
clothes
can't it
for
change
you.
your clothes for you?
And debug you from louse and all that other
Do you
stuff.
really want to trust the pattern buffer memory to get that right?
It's getting everything else right. My clothes, the data pattern for my clothes has got to be
You're
got to fit
asking-
on a mini chip
You're asking for a lot.
compared to the
You're
whole
asking
body.
for-
Thinking about that, yeah.
You're asking for a lot. Your accommodation medal might end up in an uncomfortable place.
So could your appendix,
This
but
is
you're
true.
still trusting it.
This is true.
Yeah.
So, scene switch, and we're
Change your
back there.
clothes.
Scene switch while McCoy and Spock are changing clothes. Although really it looks like they're just changing shirts. But back in the courtroom, Cogley begins to earn his pay.
Well, prosecution rests,
Yes.
and then he rests,
and
and then that's where we have your classic courtroom.
Drama.
courtroom interruption.
Yeah.
Which is always funny because they do that in every courtroom drama, and it's absolutely not allowed in a real courtroom. You will not.
We'll get to
away.
Airman O'Malley in a minute, Colonel Jessup.
Yeah.
Yeah. it
We'll
absolutely.
get to the airmen in a minute.
Yeah. It absolutely is not allowed in a real court. You will not get away with it.
Well, it's TV.
Yeah.
It's TV. So Spock gets Cogley's ear and whispers sweet nothings.
And McCoy whispers into Kirk's ear.
And Cogley wants to address
The court.
the court.
And he gets his monologue.
That's it.
And the beautiful JAG agent,
Yes.
what's the term for objects?
She objects. Yes.
Because
She
he
says
had already.
his theatrics are well known.
Well, before that, she says he's already
He's already
arrested.
He's
arrested.
already arrested his case. That's right.
So he's done. I don't care what you bring in now.
That was a little cold for the ex-girlfriend to
Yes,
do that
it was.
one.
I thought the same
Well,
thing.
Yeah.
I
beyond
thought the same
beyond
thing.
just being Kirk's ex. That's cold because she's clearly a friend of Cogley's, and she's like, I know his shenanigans because he's my friend, and I'm just gonna stop him
But you know
because I
that.
want to win this case.
But on reflection, that's what's great about her character because she was very consistent.
Yeah, she did the job,
Yeah. Even at the end, she was very consistent.
She wasn't a man hater.
and they conveyed that she didn't feel great about it, but she stuck to it and she did the job.
Right. And that's the hallmark of Gene Roddenberry's universe, that people did not go to those emotional extremes. They played pretty straight.
Mhm.
They did their job according to what their job required. Now there's some that strayed, but in his universe mostly it's upbeat and people tried to do what was right
Right.
and not what's expedient.
Right.
I can turn you in, like I joked earlier in this episode of jettisoning you out of Jeffrey's tube for my own pleasure
I don't think you
or
were kidding.
punishment. I was an audio author. I would never do that because we already established he was changing his name. It's my son now.
Of course.
Well,
Exactly.
I don't believe you do that to him.
But
But
the point is, in Roddenberry's universe, it wasn't these what's the term I want to use? Sinister
Right.
Starfleet like we get in
Right.
today's
Yes.
Starfleet. Section.
Yeah,
what is
these
it called?
people.
Section.
Yeah, these people that have gone through the same filters as everybody else, and they're immoral, unethical,
Right.
and cynically evil, sinister characters.
yeah, dirty individual.
Yeah, it's always the guy, who's
You talking about the Section 31 folks?
Section 31.
The CIA, the Starfleet CIA.
Yeah, these people who should have been weeded out. Starfleet is the grades to get through, the moral rectitude to become a Starfleet officer.
Oh no, they just found a place for the people who couldn't pass those tests to go and be useful.
See,
people that demonstrate a certain moral flexibility.
Roddenberry had an upbeat view of
he did.
Star Trek, and the Star Trek we're getting now are not based upon Roddenberry's view.
Well, we never completely got Roddenberry's view because we probably wouldn't have liked it. I mean, if his view was even more pure, there probably would have been way less combat and way less physical combat and the obligatory fight scenes.
As
and what
long
have
as I
you.
would have still gotten green Orion women, I'd have been okay.
I don't know. that may have been a Gene L. Kuhn thing.
Well, thank you, Gene.
Thank you, Gene.
Gene, I credit Gene with a lot of what I like about Star Trek.
Yeah.
So speaking of the fight scene, let's get to what leads up to that.
Yeah.
Well, so Cogley starts his approach to the bench and his diatribe of man versus machine.
I just want to note that the Commodore Khan is feeling my pain, and he understands what it's like trying to ride herd on two unruly captains.
Go ahead, Commodore.
Yes.
So, well, we gotta get through Cogley's speech first,
Yes.
telling you how important men are.
Oh my God.
People.
Oh my God.
Arthur, what really just went through my mind right now,
Comment
Arthur,
and subscribe, please.
was really
Thanks for watching.
what's really going through my mind, Arthur, is for the first time on episode 5, you're gonna have some editing to do that you haven't had to do before.
It had to happen at some point.
I'm amazed that we made it 5 episodes where we haven't had to edit something out.
Arthur pulls out the scissors and begins to cut. Snip,
Yeah.
snip.
What was the episode that we were concerned about being 3 hours? Because we might be looking at 5 or 6.
No. Chop it. Just
You think I know that?
chop it. Just put in.
So Cogley does a speech and then he says, "Hey,
Well, Cogley did.
do you guys mind if we all just beam up to the ship and we'll continue to have court up there?" And everybody says, "Sounds like a good idea."
Yeah,
No,
field
she objects.
Field
Away
trip.
we go.
Field trip.
Field trip.
She objects.
Yep.
And they
But they do it anyway.
we get on board ship and they've developed a nice little experiment. They've for the second time that we've covered, they've emptied the ship. Actually, yeah, second time they've emptied the ship.
Yeah, I just want to spend a minute on empty. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
30 people on the bridge and a guy in the
Transporter room.
is not anywhere close to being empty.
When there's normally 400 people running around.
They've gone down to a skeleton crew basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've developed this wonderful test. They turn up the ship's sensors, and Kirk briefly explains that the audible sensors of the ship can basically hear.
To the 4th power.
Yes, and they crank up the sensor, and McCoy breaks out a
Roadcaster podcast microphone.
Well, I was thinking it was a Ronco microphone.
No, Roadcaster, same as used on Men on Track.
Okay, Roadcaster. Thank you.
Product placement.
if you're going to prove that your victim is actually still alive, you need a Rodecaster podcast mic.
White noise device.
White noise device.
Yeah, it's a noise device.
It's a white noise. Cancel out.
So they
black noise.
you hear all the heartbeats, and of course, Spock's got it at 100 decibels because why not?
Yeah, and
Blow out all their eardrums.
and McCoy.
That should have hurt Spock more than anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should have. Yeah, it should have. And McCoy walks around the room and waves the microphone at everybody's chest like Harry Potter, and their heartbeat goes out.
He pulls the bottom out, turns it, and then it clicks.
Yes.
I watched that technique.
And we get down, of course, to where everybody's filtered out that we know of, and there's still one heartbeat.
Lub-dub, 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 lub-dub.
And Commodore works through.
And Commodore
Everybody knows
Stone.
what it is.
Well, he stands up. He's looking off camera. Then he stands up and he goes, Finney. Now, this is why I still, Commodore Stone, they should have gave the man his own show, because what I love about this moment is Stone now realizes what's going on. He processes it. And without saying anything, Kirk walks up to him, and Stone practically puts the phaser in his hand. He's like, go handle that. No, are you serious? Because I thought I saw it the other way. Stone was like, I'm going to go handle this guy.
Yeah,
because he's messing with one of my captains who I love and respect.
No, we're on the same page, though.
Oh, okay.
The look on Stone's face is
he must be handled.
Finney has messed with the institution. Finney has messed with my Starfleet.
That's right.
I'm getting ready to destroy one of my best guys because of this guy, and he's down there, breathing air.
If Stone would have went down there, it would have been a very different ending.
Yeah, you would have heard a phaser shot.
We forgot a part. We forgot the part before they get to the bridge crew where they're in the ready room and they start talking about. Cogley asked Kirk about the search.
Oh yeah, if
Lost
nobody.
officer.
Oh,
you can't when you're searching for lost officers.
And that
yeah.
set up the point because Cogley makes the point that he believes Finney's alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you haven't found him because he didn't want to be found.
Presuming the man wants to be found.
Right, so that's the whole point. We don't know yet. We're still lost in the ether because we haven't gotten to the waving the microphone. But Cogley makes the point. What did you do to find?
Yeah, and it's good because, and again, credit to the writing. It's a genuine aha moment because you haven't really considered that Finney might still be alive at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
You're looking for some other loophole. You're looking for the computer error to be the thing, or you're looking for something else to happen. But I was hoping McCoy slid Kirk a phaser when he was whispering to him, and Kirk was going to shoot his way out of the courtroom. But
you still wouldn't be a Starfleet officer after that.
Yeah.
But you can make a great pirate. But in any event,
This is from Admiral Redshirt.
hey, everybody's mutinying. I'm not going to be left out. But
Yeah,
No.
they have the ready room. Then they go to the bridge.
then they go to the bridge.
Then they turn off the heartbeats.
And the
there's a
heartbeats.
single upper.
But-
And they say, where is it? Isolate it. And Spock's like,
Engineer.
Section B near
Engineering or
near engineering.
Seal off.
But that moment between Stone and Kirk is everything because
Yeah.
Stone looks at Kirk like, go handle that.
That was the closest you were going to get to a 1967 tender loving moment between
Yeah.
That's what
two
I was going to
mans.
say. I was going to say that was his apology.
Yes.
That was his
He was
apology.
going to go kill him.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, this is how I'm going to apologize. I'm going to go down there and
Yeah.
vaporize it.
The look between the two people was
Finney must die.
the look between two people. Stone was like, I was wrong. Go make me right. Go get rid of Finney. Go get rid of Finney, and we gonna rock on.
That's an order.
And Kirk's like, oh yeah, I'm getting rid of Finney.
and then when they cut to Kirk, who's walking in engineering, he's fully armed, man.
Type 2 phaser.
Type 2 phaser.
Might as well went down there with an M16.
He said, Kirk, that man made us
Hey,
look like
let's
go
poll.
handle it.
Yeah.
Let's poll everyone. Let's poll everyone. Is Kirk's phaser set on stun or kill?
I say it's done.
Stun.
But it's the highest level of stun that hurts a whole lot. It's that one where they knock you across the room.
Ag boost done.
It's set for baseball bat times 3.
Yeah. It's that one where it hits you. You go, ooh.
You're agonizer, Mr. Chekhov.
So Kirk is looking around engineering for Finney.
Yeah, and this is funny. It's funny because you've gotten through this whole episode. It's been pretty cerebral. You're talking about the character of a person and what have you, but this is the obligatory. This is still a Star Trek episode, and somebody's got to get beat up.
The studios need cowboys in space.
Cowboys in space.
You got to get us a fist fight.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get beat up.
I don't care if you got Perry Mason going. We need a fist fight in the end. This is Star Trek.
One interesting thing about Finney that I caught that I never really thought about. Finney and his mania, the way they make him look, he's this crazy mirror image of Kirk. The way his hair is done,
I thought that too.
Yeah, he's this manic mirror image of Kirk.
You redeemed yourself in my eyes, Admiral Richard.
Oh, thank you.
There, but for the grace of God, go I.
Yeah, that's totally what it is.
Yeah.
That's totally what it is.
Well, Finney's been hiding on this ship for how long?
Days, couple days.
He's unshaven. He's unkept.
Yeah.
He's not going to his quarter at night. And he's hiding somewhere in engineering.
Yeah. But he's this crazy mirror image of Kirk, and as he unleashes his mania, and you realize how off the deep end he is, it literally is like Jim said. It's this could be you if you take that wrong turn.
Emotionally, you would think Finney would come off as right, other than we know the consequences of his inattentiveness on his job. Because he's complaining that society has dealt me a bad hand.
Or Starfleet has dealt him a bad hand.
That's what I'm talking about. But I'm just using society. Has dealt him a bad hand, and he's been mistreated, and he's been abused and stepped over. And it ain't fair that poor little Finney didn't get his own ship. And there's no self, as Kirk does when he evaluates himself,
Right.
when he's talking to Cogley.
Yes.
What's my portion of this?
Right.
Finney doesn't do nothing but blame somebody else
For his problem.
for his mistakes.
And that's what makes him the bad guy.
But so many people do that.
Now.
Especially now.
1967, not so much.
No, there still was a good amount of people who did it in 1967.
But it wasn't acceptable.
It wasn't everybody.
Well, and you didn't have to know about it.
Yeah, but now it's a societal hallmark.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the fight scene is not nearly so important, I think, as
It's fun though.
well, it is. Yeah, I mean, everybody should know.
Turn around and there's a wrench.
Yeah,
Turn around, there's a 10-pound crescent wrench just sitting on a box.
yeah.
He
Waiting
must
for
have thought he was speed racer.
It was at that moment I was thinking about, okay, so I'm Finney, okay, and I'm in the pod, and I get out before he jettisons it, and then I disappear and get into the computer banks and make the changes, and I'm going to hide in engineering.
How do
Then
you,
what?
How do you know Finney didn't make the changes before he went into the pod?
Well, you have to know that an ion storm was coming.
The duty roster.
But he's got to know there's going to be a storm.
Well, that's true, but there's a duty roster of getting into ion pods, and it just came up perfect.
So I think what Jim's driving at is, when does he hatch this plan?
No. I when he hatches the plan, I'm fine with that. There can be a lot of back and forth. But I'm Finney, and I'm in engineering now, and I'm hiding. Does this go on for 10 years? Like, what's the plan after this, Finney?
Yeah,
what happens? You sneak off the ship?
There's a little bit of a disconnect there, because Finney has sabotaged the ship.
I don't hear that coming through headphones. Do you hear it?
I hear
Yeah,
it.
it's
Oh, do you?
good. Yeah.
Finney has sabotaged the ship to destroy the ship. But how would Finney know they were ever coming back to the ship?
Well, I don't know if Finney cared. Finney told Kirk, "You dying doesn't matter.
It doesn't
much.
matter.
Oh, I
Your
got a
ship-
plan. I got the plan.
Your ship dying."
He was hiding in engineering. They came into Starbase, and the ship was docked. He was waiting until they went out, and then he was going to sabotage the ship, and then the ship would have ended.
Think so?
Yeah, so he's hiding engineering, waiting for them to get underway again, and then he's going to wait till they get into an orbit, and then he was going to do his sabotage that he did, and then the ship would have went down, and
Would have
everybody
been like
would have died.
decommissioned.
It would have died.
Yeah, but Kirk wouldn't have been on it because Finney doctored the records where Kirk would have been taken off the ship.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
So
that
what's the
would
point of destroying the ship when Kirk's not on it?
to hurt Kirk even more.
You done took the ship from me. You're not hurting me.
No, to
longer-
see the ship destroyed with all hands, that would hurt even more.
Okay.
I mean,
Anyways.
Okay, Admiral.
hey. You get to go out by Pluto with your theories, and I just go by Mars.
I said,
and you
okay, what do you want from me?
complain.
What do you want from me? I agreed with you.
You complain.
Oh, great Admiral looks good in red.
You're gonna be a lieutenant commander by the time I get done with you. So
They have their fight.
they have their fight, and
Well, but wait a second. He tells him that Jamie's on board.
That's
Yeah.
when he broke down. The fight
That's
started first.
That's when
Yeah.
he starts.
Yeah.
That's when he starts.
They start throwing blows.
yeah,
No. They don't. I don't think they start fighting yet because Finney has a phaser.
Finney's
Kirk
got a
drops
phaser.
his, and then Finney's walking over and he's like, "Captains, all of them. You know, like why kill everybody else? Just kill me." And he's like, "Oh, they're all captains. I'm gonna
yeah.
kill
They
them
all
anyways."
did it. They all did it to me.
Officers and gentlemen.
Yeah, and he's like, but why Jamie? You don't want to kill her. And he's like, why did you bring her here? And then that's when they started the fisticuffs.
Right. That's when he starts to break down and Kirk jumps on him and takes the opportunity. They fight over the phaser for a minute, and the phaser's kicked on the floor, and then the wrench magically appears in Finney's hands, and he starts swinging a baseball bat at him.
Engineering on the Enterprise should have turnbuckles. I mean,
It should be.
it just should be roped off.
1960 something, Cowboys in space. You got to give me a fight scene.
Yeah, but yeah, going down to that engineering room is never a good deal.
But that's the good thing, and it might have been pushed by the studio,
Absolutely,
but it kept young people engaged.
But wait, we heightened it because what Finney said was, I've killed your ship.
Right.
I've bypassed the primary power supply or whatever. And then that's where Kirk says, why would you do that when your daughter's on board? Then they have the fisticuffs.
Right.
right.
So he wrestles Finney down.
And
He
the
put-
orbit starts decaying.
Yeah, orbit's decaying as well.
Right. Kirk goes and verifies the orbit's decaying, and then the fight ensues. And during the battle, Kirk gets the upper hand on Finney, and Finney's sobbing, and Kirk does a little monologue that he's told me what he's done to the ship.
Sobbing and regretful or something like that. Finney tells me what he's done, and he goes on. But there was some foreshadowing when they were on the bridge. One of the captains asked, because they said everybody's going to get beamed off and they're just going to remain in orbit. And the one captain goes, well, what are you going to do when your orbit starts to decay? And he's like, well, hopefully we'll be done by then.
And there's in that final bit on the bridge, there's another testament to the strength of captains and the strength of Starfleet officers. Ship looks like it's going to crash into the atmosphere, burn up. Nobody wants to leave. Nobody wants to run. Everybody snaps to and starts to handle it. And again, you get a view of what you got to, the know-how you have to be a Starfleet officer, because Uhura jumps to the helm.
Right.
Uhura jumps to the helm. Commodore Stone's not going anywhere. The other captains are on board. Everybody's doing what they need to do to make something happen.
Right. The statement is made.
And there's no thought of evacuation.
Spock even tries to get him onto a transporter, and he goes, we haven't heard the witness out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the Starfleet officers again, particularly the captains. How capable you have to be to level up to a captain. The attitudes of a captain is true leadership. Nobody wants to run for the transport.
Right. So Kirk climbs up the Jeffries tube. There's some 14 gauge wire.
Yes.
No, that looks closer to 4-aught.
4-aught.
Four.
Gotcha.
It looks closer to 4-aught or 350.
Yeah.
And it's all bypassed from one side of the Jeffries tube to the other, up, down, sideways.
The nuclear pile that he's just going to pull loose.
So he unplugs the sabotage.
He should have been electrocuted.
The sabotage.
Should have been disintegrated.
Sabotage.
Yeah, that's some serious wiring there, and considering what it's supposed to be wired, yeah, we should have seen a glowing captain.
Oh my goodness! Once he pulled the first one, the flash should have been huge.
Yeah,
Should have been huge.
Yeah.
So then we cut, and he's there with what was her name? Ariel. And she's like, "Can I kiss you?" And he's like, "Of course." I'm
Little
James
Mermaid?
T.
Yeah,
But first, she gives a book to him from
from Cogley.
Cogley, and she reveals that Cogley is defending Finney. Ben Finney.
Which left me with the sinking feeling that Finney might go free. That bothered me.
Well, I'm okay because Finney still will never get a ship.
Never. And will never be on a ship. More than
Right.
one.
Oh, he'll be on a ship. He'll be on a ship for as long as it takes it to get to Rura Pente.
Finney,
No guard tower.
guard towers.
no electronic.
Man, when
Yeah.
when you think of prison in Star Trek and they under conditioning, I don't know if Ruapinti wouldn't be better.
Yeah, the few times you see a holding facility on Star Trek, it's like, oh, that's bad. That is not where you want to be.
Yeah, it seems like there's really no prisons. There's only mental facilities.
Yep.
Yeah, they stick you in the brain box and make you somebody else.
Although Star Trek has established if you murder somebody, you're done.
Death penalty. Yeah.
Death penalty.
Oh.
They're not playing around
Yeah,
in the future.
They just kill everyone.
Kill murderers. Now that's not everyone.
Right, fair.
No.
So Kirk, after having been accused, dressed down by a superior, his career out the window, crescent wrench fight in engineering, torn shirt again. All this happens. What does he do? Smile, tucks the book under his arm, gives the girl a kiss, comes sit in the center chair, and just exhales.
And you have a great moment between the three amigos as they all pretend that Kirk didn't just openly kiss this woman on the bridge.
And they talk about her qualifications.
Her qualifications.
Positive qualifications.
She's very gifted,
Positive,
yes.
very
Yeah.
gifted.
And I think McCoy is regretting that he didn't find out about the
All
gifts.
McCoy's friends are old doctors.
Yes.
And all Kirk's friends look like her.
You know, McCoy was doing pretty good on shore leave, though.
Yes, he was.
You know, till the rabbit showed
Yep.
up.
Yes, he was.
But-
I don't know how he scurried that one up, but writing is fantastic. I wonder if the actor tipped off the writer, said, "Give me somebody nice to this episode.
Can I get the girl
Can I
next
get the girl
episode?
just once?" You got to spread the girl around because even Spock gets a girl a couple times.
Actually, McCoy kind of gets the shaft on that across the series. Whenever he likes somebody, it doesn't go well for him. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't.
No.
It really doesn't.
They don't call him Bones for nothing.
Well,
So we see in this episode the requirements of being a starship captain, the requirements on being the responsibility of being accountable for your actions, and these things are forefront in the episode. The accountability,
absolutely.
you know, the responsibility of your duties on the starship and all that, and the level you have to be at to make that rank. And one mistake takes you out of the pool.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Commodore Khan?
Yeah, I actually wish we could get back to seeing more entertainment like this
But
today.
Go ahead, Commodore.
Because, like I said, going back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast, not having seen classic Trek for years and going back and watching this, I had honestly forgotten what well-written entertainment was like.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's why
Because they're basic human themes that are, for lack of a better word, timeless, that apply here and to like pretty much all of the series. And we don't really see it much anymore.
Yeah.
that's why Men in Track are doing what we're doing, because the timelessness of the original series and the writing is so good that you can enjoy it. All they did is give it a little facelift with a little more graphics in the ship, but the writing is still the writing, and it's so enjoyable. But as you were saying, the timeless themes that go along with it, that's what Shakespeare was about.
Right.
Now, I'm not equating Star Trek to Shakespeare. There's a huge difference in the level, but it's the timeless themes that you can enjoy no matter how many years it's been. You know,
Well, the analogy I think with Shakespeare is that common people got to see kings and queens having common problems. And, in
Yes.
Star Trek, you get to see these starship captains having, they're not always common problems, but usually the episode is not about, today everything went well. It's usually about how things go wrong. And
The problem.
go ahead, Commodore.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nope.
The problems aren't common, but the human elements of them are.
right. How do you respond to this problem? It's always going to come down to the human element. The problem can be as outlandish as possible, but to make it good, there still has to be a common denominator on how people act in this outlandish situation.
What caused the problem is part of the human condition that's being talked about. Because the problem here, the episode starts off and it sounds very man versus machine. Humanity versus technology, when it's actually humanity versus
Humanity.
the humanity, the dark side of humanity.
Right.
So,
Well-made point.
It's
The balanced individual against the unbalanced.
a person
mhm.
a person who is rising to the challenge and taking responsibility for their actions versus someone who's blaming everybody else for their failures.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Commodore Khan as
Yes,
our
sir.
second special guest calling
Thank you.
in
Yes.
from some distant
for having me.
starbase.
Definitely would like to come on again.
Absolutely, sir.
Yes, sir.
Only
Yes,
if
sir.
you're willing to mutiny.
No.
I got to get you signed on to the mutiny.
Men on Trek, possibly under new management soon. If the if the mutiny is successful.
What I need to do is I need to get over there and join you.
All right. Well, we're ready to beam out.
Yeah, this has
Episode 5.
It's been episode 5 of Men on Trek. Obviously, it sounds like you don't necessarily want to drive the ship, but if you hit like and subscribe, we'll continue to drive the ship, and you can just sit back and enjoy the ride. And if you haven't gotten out there like Commodore Khan and started watching old Trek again, I'm asking, what are you waiting for? You got all kinds of time. So watch a few episodes and come back, and maybe we'll talk about the one you just saw.
And don't forget Sir William Shatner. It's
Yeah.
time, people.
Yeah, make that happen. We believe in you.
We believe in you.
Men on Trek, out.